morning. Good morning. Good morning. Hey, everybody. I hope you guys had a good evening. What's up? Good morning, my friends. Hey, Judy. Hey, Jill. Good morning. It's good to see everybody. So, let's see what Judy has for us this morning. Rumors circulated for years that Phil Spector had threatened members of the Ramones with a pew-pew during the sessions. Dee Dee Ramone claimed that Phil Spector once pulled a pew-pew on him when he tried to leave a session. Yeah, I did a post where I put a link from a video on YouTube of the Casual Criminalist where he talked about, like, it started with Lana Clarkson's career, like, I think it said, like, where she grew up and her aspirations for her adult life, and then started with her career. And then it told about her death. And then it went back to, like, Phil Spector, like, his childhood and growing up and high school and how he started his first band and all that. And then his marriages. And yeah, he was crazy. Before the car accident, before the head injury, crazy. Cray. This man, oh my God, the head injury did not do it. he had, what do they call it? Napoleon complex, when you're, like, short in stature, but, like, you want everybody to think you're a badass, but you're short. So, like, you make your personality big and huge, so everybody, even though you're short, you make people know that you're a big deal, right? So, and he chose to do it with a pew-pew. Man, this guy, you guys really should go watch that. It's under the post section on my YouTube page. I was shocked. I didn't even, like, I knew he was a music producer, and yes, he was, Jill. Thanks to Jill for that too, because I didn't even know it was out there. And now I'm getting in my YouTube feed stuff about Phil Spector. And the Casual Criminalist is the only one that I've watched, because I've watched that channel before and I like it. So she sent me the link and I was like, oh my God. But yeah, he absolutely was. But I was shocked because when Judy told me he'd been in a car accident, I was like, oh, well, maybe that's what it is, because there are stories of people that have head injuries and their personality completely changes. So I thought, well, maybe that's it. Maybe the car accident gave him a head injury and he just became different, because that happens. But no, that was not it. So you can't even give him a pass on that, because he's always been this way. Ugh, what a nasty little man. But I knew he was a music producer. I didn't realize he had his own band, and that, he was a music genius, like his own band, like a music genius in his own right. So, like, when the security of Joan Rivers was talking about he brought a keyboard, I'm like, wait a minute, he brought a keyboard. I didn't say this, but I was thinking, keyboard, did he play? Did he play music at her party? Like, why did he bring a keyboard? Because I thought he just produced music. I didn't know, like, he actually performed. But apparently, it almost makes me want to go back and find some of the songs that he did, but they're kind of tainted now. Like, I don't think I would like them. Hey, Terry. Like, I don't think I'd like them just because I guess part of me would like them, but still, it would be like, ooh, that's Phil Spector. So, okay, we are on the redirect of the paramedic that went to Lana Clarkson's, I don't know if it was her house or if she was at somebody else's house for a Christmas party, when she broke both of her wrists and she was drinking. They made sure to say she was drinking. I don't know where they're getting at with this, because the defense called this witness. Now, had the prosecution called this witness, I would have said, well, they're trying to show that she couldn't have shot a gun because her wrists had been previously broken. But the defense called this witness, so I don't understand the point of this witness. Because she was drinking, maybe? But I don't know. So we are on the redirect of this witness, and then we're going to go to the redirect of the security guard from the Joan Rivers Christmas party where Phil Spector took out the pew pew and was screaming that effing see you next Tuesday. And that should bring us right up to the Karen Reed trial, hopefully. So let's do it.
I thought you were going to be a short witness.
So did I.
We were both wrong. Okay. Mr. Stark, a few questions, sir. Mr. Jackson asked you about the fact that this occurred back in 2001. You recall that?
Yes, sir.
And that was your recollection, December of 2001, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you didn't make any notes of this, did you?
No, sir.
Okay. You didn't enter it into your own personal log or diary, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. But the bottom line on it is you remember this very well, don't you?
Yes, sir.
Tell the jury why you remember this so well.
I remember this because it was being new on the department. I'd never been to Hollywood, and we went on a lot of famous people while I was stationed at 27s. And the main thing that stood out was the two broken wrists, like I testified earlier, and I hadn't seen something like that ever in my life. And when I was first contacted about this case, I didn't know who the person was or anything. They just asked, did you ever transport a woman with two broken wrists? And I said, you know what? I think I can help you. I remember that call. And then I was informed that they wanted me to speak to the defense attorneys. It was the first double breaking wrist call I'd ever had in my career. I'm going to remember that.
We're going to get to the meeting that you had with our investigator, Ms. Tyndall, in a moment. But I want to ask you this. You remember the injuries?
Yes, sir.
You remember the location of the Hollywood Hills?
Yes, sir.
You remember the IV that you put in that day?
Yes, sir.
You remember the medication that you pushed into her?
What Bruce did, yes.
Do you remember her slurred speech, her slurred words?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember the odor of alcohol?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember her being inebriated?
Yes, sir.
Is that clear in your mind?
Yes, sir.
Do you need some notes or personal diary or log to remember that?
No, sir.
Mr. Jackson had you look at a different photograph, People's 14. Remember he flashed that up there?
Is that the base form?
No. That was the other photograph of the young lady who you said it resembled Miss Clarkson, remember?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You don't know when that picture was taken, do you?
No, sir.
And you don't know for what purpose that picture was taken, do you?
No, sir.
You don't know if it was a candid shot or a portrait for something, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Just like you had no idea the picture that Miss Tyndall showed you, which I showed you on the screen, correct?
Correct.
All right. You were just asked to look at a photo, right?
Correct.
And I think when Miss Tyndall showed you that photo, you immediately picked out Miss Clarkson, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, let's talk about this meeting that you had with Miss Tyndall. You spoke with her for about an hour and a half before that photograph even came out, correct?
Correct.
And when I say that photograph, Aaron, so we keep the record clear, that was Defense Exhibit, yikes, I guess.
Septuple L.
Thank you so much. Okay. Septuple L. So you had already spoken with her for an hour and a half before she even showed you that photo, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. When you spoke with Miss Tyndall, did you know that your conversation with her had anything to do with Philip Spector and this case here in this courtroom?
No, sir.
Okay. Have you been following this case every minute of every day in your
No,
free
sir.
time? Just little bits and pieces here and there?
This is what I've seen on TV occasional, and then I'll just change the channel.
So you had no knowledge this had anything to do with Phil Spector when you spoke with Ms. Tyndall?
No, sir, I did not.
Now, Mr. Jackson asked you the question about whether or not base hospital contact was made, and you said it was. Is that right?
Correct.
Explain to the jury why it was made in this case with Ms. Clarkson.
Base hospital contact was made because at that time, our department did not have standing field treatment protocols for a narcotic called morphine. We had to get a base hospital order for that. So we called, we asked the receiving facility, may we get the order for morphine for pain? They'll tell you 2 to 10 milligrams IV push, titrate to effect to a max of 20. And that's what we got the order for so that we could treat her for her pain.
Sudi, can we have People's 57? Jen, do you have 57? Okay, Sudi, may I have that up there, please? Court's indulgence for a moment here, please. Thank you. While she's doing that, I can ask some more questions, okay, Your Honor, so we don't waste time. Mr. Stark, I just want to make sure I'm clear on this. Could you explain again your testimony regarding why the box that says ETOH may or may not be checked, even if a particular patient does show signs of inebriation and alcohol consumption?
But it was raised on cross. I'll allow the defense to go back into it and redirect. You may.
Thank you, Your Honor.
It could be up to the paramedic if he would like to check that, or it can be due to the fact that some paramedics on the job won't check the box unless it has to do with driving. Was the person involved in a car accident where there'd be a DUI, then we'd have a PD unit section filled out on the form as well. And then half the time with our department, it's just plain mistake. They didn't check the box. That's why we're always getting our forms sent back to us in certain aspects when they recheck them. And then they give you a notice to improve. You need to start getting up on this and make sure that your documentation is correct. Because with every document that's not filled out correctly, it puts the city of Los Angeles in liability.
Very good. Taking a look at what's been previously marked as People's 57 and the exhibit that Mr. Jackson spent some time talking to you about. Sir, that's not your form, is it?
No, that's a nurse's writing.
When you say the nurse is writing, what nurse where?
That'd be a nurse receiving at, I'd have to see the 902 to see if he called Cedars directly or if he called Hollywood Presbyterian, because Hollywood Presbyterian was 27's base when I worked there.
Okay. I guess really what I'm getting at, this is not a form that Bruce filled out, is it?
No, that's a nurse.
That's not a form you filled out.
That's not a form I filled out either.
It's a form filled out by a nurse, male or female, we don't know.
Correct.
Who took information from Bruce.
Correct.
You indicated that you now work at the busiest battalion in the city, is that correct?
That's correct.
And where is that?
I work in South Los Angeles. I work at Fire Station 65 on Century and Holmes in the city of Watts.
Okay. How long have you been working there?
Just over 4 years in Watts now.
You like your work there?
Yes.
Okay. Now, Mr. Jackson touched on another area. He touched on the area of the fact that being in the Watts district, working that battalion station, you're very busy. You've done basically maybe even thousands of rollout calls. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. And Mr. Jackson asked you, it's kind of nice to have notes to refresh your recollection. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You don't have any notes about the time that you responded in December of '01 to the Hollywood Hills to help Miss Clarkson, do you?
No, I do not. It's in the archives
Okay.
in downtown LA with our department.
But you don't need those notes to remember what you've testified to, do you?
No, sir.
Just a couple of other quick areas. You took her to the hospital, correct?
Yes, sir.
Before you left the hospital, were you satisfied, Mr. Stark, that she was then in good medical care, good
Yes,
medical
sir.
hands?
Cedars is a trauma center. They have the best surgeons out there.
Okay. So you were satisfied that she was going to get good medical care?
Yes, sir.
Otherwise, you wouldn't have left her there, right?
Correct.
Okay. Mr. Jackson also touched on the two other areas. He asked, was she
Correct.
So you really didn't have a yardstick or a template, so to speak, against which to measure her voice patterns, correct?
Correct.
Or the inflection in her voice, correct?
Correct.
Or as Mr. Jackson did, he spoke and talked real fast, and then he slowed down and talked real slow. You didn't know, correct?
Correct.
But you knew that you were talking to somebody who had slurred speech, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
And there's no doubt about that, correct?
No, sir.
Okay. And finally, Ms. Clarkson, she wasn't in shock when you arrived there, was she?
No, sir. The only thing was she was just crying a lot. That could be a form of shock where you're thinking, it's a mental shock, because shock is actually defined as widespread inadequate tissue perfusion. That's what shock is. And even with her vital signs, she was not either in decompensating shock or compensatory shock. So basically, she was in just a state of mind. That's her type of shock that she's having.
You asked her questions, correct?
Yes.
You got information from her, correct?
Yes, sir.
Did you have any trouble understanding that information and putting it down? Other than the fact that it was slurred speech?
No, sir.
Okay. Court's indulgence for one moment, please. It's a good thing I have help here. Mr. Stark, you're experienced in dealing with injured persons, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you can tell the difference between an injured person and somebody who's under the influence, correct?
Yes, sir.
And somebody who is injured and not under the influence?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you have no doubt that she was under the influence?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, I have nothing further.
Thank you. Ms. Ross?
Just one quick point. I guess just to point out, you indicated, you're not suggesting to this jury that she was blitzed or drunk out of her mind, correct?
No, she's under the influence, that's all.
Okay, when you say under the influence, that may have a particular definition in your mind. You're not saying that she was stumbling drunk.
Yeah, I'm saying she's under the influence to the point where I'm not saying she's staggering down the hallway, falling down or anything like that. No.
Or she was not understandable, or her speech was so slurred that you.
No, she was still understandable.
Okay, so, and you're basing that, just once again, you're basing that on two things, if I understand your testimony correctly. Her speech pattern, and you smelled alcohol.
And my patient assessment and experience.
Okay, but your patient assessment and your experience is based on the fact that you smelled alcohol
Yes,
and her speech pattern.
yes.
Thank you, that's all.
Thank you. Redirect.
Define for the jury, if you would, what you mean by the terms, bless you, by the terms patient assessment and experience.
Patient assessment is basically, it's the ongoing from the first time you get on scene to the point you transfer of care or leave. Your patient assessment is constantly going on. You're taking everything that you see with a patient into facts, because with a lot of people, sure, everybody knows they have family members. When they go to the hospital, as soon as they get in the back of the ambulance, they look okay, but then by the time we get people to the hospital, some of them are almost dead. The patient assessment has to constantly be done throughout patient care until you transfer care, or else we are held negligent and liable for not doing the correct job. And patient assessment is vital signs every 5 to 10 minutes. We don't just get in the back of the rig, kick our legs up, and all right, drive me 30 minutes to the hospital. It don't work that way.
And by experience, when Mr. Jackson asked you that question, am I correct in assuming you meant your training and experience as a firefighter and as a paramedic at that time?
Yes, that and just the fact that I've been doing this almost all my whole life,
And
fresh out
also,
of high school.
and also your common sense experience that you learned by living as a human being, correct?
That's correct, and as well with the paramedic experience that I
Oh my God. I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy. Y'all go check out Colin's channel. I have YouTube royalty in my chat. Oh my God. Hey, Colin, what's up, dude? Oh, wow. You just made my day, dude. You just made my day.
experience that I have, as well as other members on this department, we can walk into somebody's house and with an engine company or a task force with us when we're going to render medical aid, I can look right at the patient just from experience, say, you know what, engine, you're out of here. Go get yourselves available for a fire. And myself and my partner, we can handle this. And we do it 99% of the time, every day that I work.
Thank you, Mr. Stark.
Welcome.
Thank you. We cross.
Only one more thing. Of course, this patient assessment and experience is the same thing that Bruce Liverpool would undertake on the way to the hospital.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Anything further?
No.
All right, subject to recall, you may step down. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
Recall Mr. Tenazzo, please, for cross.
Okay. Now, this is the redirect because they interrupted this witness. This is the redirect. Quit. Stupid StreamYard. They cut off my audio again. Hold up. I gotta share my screen again. This is Joan Rivers' security guy. I'm nervous now because Colin's here. This is Joan Rivers' security guy. He is a witness for the prosecution who this trial has been so weird. They didn't get to all the prosecution witnesses, but they started the defense case. And so Alan Jackson questioned this guy. Was it AJ or was it the other guy? See, now I don't remember. Anyway, now the defense is cross-examining him because for some reason they took a defense witness in the middle of the prosecution witness. This trial is wonky. So this is the cross-examination of Joan Rivers' security guy who threw Phil Spector out of her Christmas party.
Counsel.
Sorry?
Good afternoon, Counsel.
I'm going to ask you some questions here this afternoon. If you don't understand my questions, you just let. First of all, I wanted to ask about the fact that you told us and shared with us that you had experience as a New York police officer for about 17 years. Is that correct?
Yes.
You retired from the business. You were in narcotics for 9, and you divided the 9, 4 and 5. 4 years as an investigator, 5 as an undercover officer.
Yes.
You're familiar with the phrase crystals and pistols, aren't you? You know what that means.
No,
You worked in narcotics for 5 years, and you never heard that phrase?
not in the East Coast, sir.
Oh, it's nationwide, sir. When you made arrests,
Sustained.
when you made arrests as a narcotics officer, did you ever arrest anybody for, say, for example, heroin? You did, didn't you?
Oh, absolutely.
Cocaine,
Absolutely.
rock cocaine,
Absolutely.
methamphetamine,
Yes.
ice,
Yes.
hard form of methamphetamine, intense one, correct?
Yes.
When you arrested some of these individuals, it was as a narcotics officer, correct?
Yes.
Both in an undercover capacity and as an investigator.
Yes.
Hundreds of suspects were arrested by you for violations of the narcotics laws in New York, correct?
Not hundreds, but a lot. Yes.
A lot of those folks, when you made the arrest and seized drugs, you also seized weapons, didn't you?
Yes.
Some of those individuals had weapons on them, correct?
Absolutely.
And in none of those instances was there a complaint. Was basically you working a drug investigation as a law enforcement officer, correct?
Yes.
And when you went to court on some of those cases, didn't you?
Yes.
And you testified, right?
Yes.
And you testified about the drugs, right?
Yes.
And you testified about the guns, right?
Yes.
And in each and every one of those instances, there was no complaint. It was just what you saw, correct?
No, that's not correct.
In many of the instances, that's what happened, isn't it?
50%,
Okay, so 50% of the cases you went to court for on drug cases and testified where there were guns and drugs, there was no complaint. That's what you just said, correct?
yes,
By the way, it is against the law in New York City to carry a concealed weapon without a permit, isn't it?
yes,
As I understand your testimony, you told us that the first instance, the first Christmas, and by the way, you're not perfectly clear as to when that was. We're partying.
no, I'm not.
It could have been in 94, 95, 93, 92, maybe even earlier, correct?
I don't think earlier, but in that time frame, yes, Counsel.
Early to mid-90s. Is that a fair statement?
Fair statement.
In the first instance that you testified to here this morning, you said you were concerned that Phil Spector was armed because you had received a call, "Get up here, Vinny, right away." Phil Spector pulled a gun, right?
Yes,
So when you got into the tiny little elevator, go down the 7 floors, it was very easy for you to get close to him, wasn't it?
oh, yes,
And you did get close to him, didn't
yes, I did.
you? And you felt something and you put your hand on something, didn't you?
Yes,
You put your hand on his coat, correct?
yes,
And beneath his coat, you felt something, correct?
yes,
You felt the butt of a gun, correct?
yes,
A handgun, is that right?
yes,
And based on years of experience as an officer with New York PD, there was no doubt in your mind that that was a weapon, a firearm, correct?
that's correct.
You stayed with Mr. Spector in this minute.
Yes,
You entered the lobby of the residence, correct?
yes,
You took Mr. Spector out to the limo and you put him in the limo. You went and you sat in the limo with him, correct?
yes,
You asked the limo driver to go back in, get the keyboard, come back out. He came back out, he put the keyboard away. The limo driver got back in. You stepped out of the limo and off it went, correct?
absolutely.
You didn't call anybody at New York PD, did
Oh,
you?
no, no,
You did not detain. You know what I mean by detain? You know what a detention is.
Yes.
You're an ex-officer. You did not detain Mr. Spector, did you?
no,
Did you, at some point, as a former police officer, knowing that it is
I really don't think he wanted to call the cops to Joan Rivers' Christmas party. Like, seriously.
absolutely against the law to carry a concealed weapon in New York City, take the gun away from Mr. Spector?
I didn't know if it was illegal or not.
Did you take the gun away from Mr. Spector?
No, I didn't know if he had a legal permit or not.
He tried to show you a permit in the limo, didn't he?
Absolutely.
And you took the permit and you discarded it on the seat, correct?
Yes, I did.
You never looked at it, did you?
I had other things on my mind, Counselor.
You didn't look at it, did you?
I glanced, but it wasn't important to me.
Wasn't it important to you?
No, not at that moment.
He told you it was a permit, correct?
Yes, he said it was.
A gun permit, correct?
Yes,
You didn't read it, did you?
not at that time. It wasn't important to me.
I understand. You tossed it aside, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
So as far as you knew, it could have been a piece of paper of anything. It could have been a menu to a restaurant, right?
No,
But you didn't know what the contents of it were because you didn't read it, right?
I didn't read it, but when it was passed to me, there was a photo on it, and it looked official. I just took it and dumped it. That wasn't my concern. I put it on a seat. I had other things on my mind at that moment.
Mr. Tenanzo, you didn't call New York PD, correct?
No, I did
You
not.
didn't detain Mr. Spector, correct?
No, I did
You didn't
not.
take the gun away from him,
No, I
correct?
did not.
All right. Did you ever make any notes, your own personal notes, about this first Christmas incident?
No, I didn't make any notes whatsoever.
Did you ever make any notes about the second Christmas incident? Did you ever report the Christmas incident to Miss Rivers?
Me personally, no.
Now, as I understand your testimony, one of the reasons you went upstairs at the first Christmas incident was to see if any people were intoxicated. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
One of the reasons, yes.
All right. And then you told us what happened, or what's allegedly happened regarding Mr. Spector. Is that correct?
Yes.
As you sit here today, you cannot state that Mr. Spector was intoxicated. Isn't that true?
Absolutely, I can't.
And if I ask you the same question about the second Christmas incident, it would be the same answer, wouldn't it? You cannot state that he was intoxicated at the second Christmas incident. Isn't that correct?
That's absolutely correct, Councilman.
Let's switch to the second Christmas incident for a moment. At the second Christmas incident, I think you indicated that you were downstairs in the lobby. You were with Miss Melvin. You were with Mr. Spector. Mr. Spector was speaking in a loud and argumentative way when the doors to the elevator opened and a lady stepped out, correct?
Yes.
And when the lady stepped out, it is your testimony that Mr. Spector turned in her direction and stated some invective statements towards her. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And as I understand it, you said that he actually even took a step in her direction. You grabbed a hold of him, took him out of the building, and put him in the limousine and sent him on his way. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. You saw this woman, did you not? When
Yes.
she stepped out of the elevator?
Yes.
And she was one of the guests at Miss Rivers' party?
Yes.
What's her name?
I might have known then. I don't know her name.
As I understand it, after this happened, you did not interview this woman, did you?
No.
You did not get her name, you did not get her information as to address, phone number, any pertinent information in terms of an ability to contact her, isn't that right?
That's correct.
And you never made any attempt to put her in touch with the police department in New York City at that time, right?
Right.
Now, you indicated, after you were told to get up there, that you had a weapon on you, is that right?
Yes.
And you told Mr. Dixon you unholstered that weapon, correct?
Yes.
And you emphasized that the reason you unholstered it was to place it in your pocket, is that correct?
That's one of the reasons, yes.
Okay. And that was so it would be ready if you needed it, correct?
Yes.
You weren't going to take any chances, right? You wanted to make sure that the guests at Miss Rivers' Christmas party, as well as yourself, were going to be safe. And if you needed to pull the gun, you would, correct?
Absolutely.
But you never did pull it, did you?
No.
You never needed to pull it, did you?
I never pulled the gun.
And as a matter of fact, Mr. Tenazzo, you never saw Mr. Spector pull any weapon whatsoever at the second Christmas incident. Isn't that correct?
Absolutely. I never saw it.
As a matter of fact, you don't even know if he was armed at the second Christmas incident. Isn't that right?
That's absolutely correct.
Your testimony is that you believe he was armed at the first Christmas incident. Isn't that right?
I don't believe it. I know he was armed.
Did you ever see that gun in his hand at the first Christmas incident?
No.
You did not, did you?
No, I did not.
I really appreciate it. I'll see you later. Bye, Colin.
Now, Mr. Tenazzo, are you familiar with New York City's Sullivan Law, which is a law prohibiting people from carrying concealed handguns without a permit?
I'm familiar with the New York State Penal Code, which contains sections of people,
Of the Sullivan decision?
well, of carrying a concealed weapon.
Okay. And you're familiar with the section which says that it is against state law to carry a concealed weapon in the state of New York unless you are permitted, correct?
Yes.
And it's your testimony here today that Mr. Spector presented you with something, but you don't know what it was, even though it had his picture on it. So you can't tell us whether that was a permit or it wasn't a permit, correct? You just don't know.
It looked like a permit. He told me it was a permit. I didn't look at it. Like I said, I had other things on my mind at that time.
Well, you told Mr. Mr. Jason on direct that you didn't know what it was. It was handed to you, you discarded it immediately. Now I'm asking you, you don't know whether it was a permit or not. You just said seconds ago that it was a permit.
That's what I was told.
That's what you were told. Okay. You were told by Mr. Spector that it was a permit, correct?
Yes.
But you don't know from your own knowledge whether or not it was a permit, correct?
I looked at it, no, I just discarded it.
Okay. Now you demonstrated for Mr. Dixon that you stood and you showed that Mr. Spector's hand, according to your testimony, was going back. Is that correct?
Yes,
Back towards the pocket area, correct?
yes,
Do you recall being interviewed by Detective Tomlin on the phone on January 31st of 07?
yes,
Do you remember him asking you questions in that area and you answering them?
yes,
Do you remember telling him that Mr. Spector's hand was going towards the waist area, not towards the pocket?
I might have said the waist, pocket,
Well-
same direction.
All right, but I'm asking you this. Did you use the word pocket or the word waist when you talked to Mr. Tomlin? You used the word waist, not pocket, correct?
If I said it, I said it.
Okay, so you don't disagree with that?
If you tell me that's my testimony, I agree with you, Counselor.
Okay. You didn't inspect the badge that he showed you either, did you?
No,
He told you he was a auxiliary deputy sheriff from North Carolina, but you didn't look at it, right?
he said he was a sheriff, but, you could tell it's a badge, but I didn't look at it for any reason.
All right. Now, I think you indicated that Mr. Spector was making statements, correct?
Yes,
And he was making these statements of this particular lady, is that correct?
I'm sorry.
He was making statements at a particular lady. Let me back up and ask it this way. Let's talk about the first incident, okay? The very first incident. It is your testimony that once Mr. Spector and you got downstairs, you got into the limo, correct?
Yes,
While in the limo, he was making statements, correct?
yes.
And he was making statements about this woman, correct?
Which woman? The woman,
Some woman that was at the party, correct?
there were a lot of women at the party. Which woman? The woman he pulled the gun on? I don't know who you're talking about.
You don't know that he pulled a gun on a woman, do you?
Oh, I do.
No, you don't. You didn't. You just told us a moment ago you never saw him.
The question
I'll
is getting
rephrase it.
argumentative.
I'll
Thank you.
rephrase it. You never saw Mr. Spector with a gun in his hand, did you?
Oh, no.
Okay. You received a phone call, correct?
Yes,
You weren't present when you got that phone call up in the apartment. You were down.
Oh, no,
Let
I
me
never
finish.
witnessed it.
You were downstairs in the lobby, correct?
yes,
So all you know is what somebody told you, correct?
yes.
All right. Now, let's talk about this first incident. We're still on the first incident of
Okay.
Christmas, okay? You indicated that you were down in the limo with Mr. Spector, correct? He showed you a badge, he showed you a document. You're in there in the limo with him, and he's talking to you, correct?
Yes,
All right. And at that time, you indicated that he was making statements, correct?
yes,
All right. And you were talking to him, correct?
yes,
And you were telling him to calm down, correct?
yes, I guess.
You told him that the keyboard was coming, correct?
Yes,
You told him that he should go home or wherever else he was headed to, correct?
yes,
And I think you testified that Mr. Spector was still in a loud voice making statements. He was swearing, correct?
yes,
All right. You looked at him while you were sitting in the limo listening to this, and you thought nothing of it. Isn't that true?
When you say nothing of it, what do you mean? What do you mean?
When you spoke with Detective Tomlin
Yes,
on January 31st in the year 2007, this year here, you told him that you thought nothing, you looked at Mr. Spector and you thought nothing of it about what he was saying, his, as you've described it, his alleged ranting and ravings.
Yes,
As far as you were concerned, it was just a fucking guy ranting and raving, correct? That's what you
out of
told.
context, but yes.
Well, that's what you told Tomlin.
Out of context, yes.
Well, when you say out of context, would you like to see it? It's right here in the transcript of the tape conversation you had with him.
I saw it.
Okay, and that's what you told him, right?
Yes,
You thought it was the ranting and raving of some fucking guy. That's what you said, right?
yes.
You don't even know what it was about, do you? You don't know what the argument was about, do you?
That's clarification.
Thank you.
Do you know what the argument was about?
Between,
Okay.
Between Mr. Spector and whoever he was making these statements to that you alleged.
oh, no, I didn't witness any of that.
Likewise for the second Christmas incident. You have no idea what Mr. Spector was upset over, allegedly, with the woman who stepped out of the elevator.
Oh, no, I
didn't
didn't witness that. Exactly.
All right, we're going to take a recess at this time. Let's try to make it closer to 10 than 15 minutes if possible because of the bathroom use. Keep in mind the admonition will resume in about 10 to 15 minutes. Thank you.
Because of the bathroom use. What does that mean?
What's in the session?
All right, all the parties, jurors, alternates, and the witness are present. You may resume.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Tanaza, just picking up where we left off before the afternoon break, I think you indicated that you did not discuss this matter with Ms. Rivers, your employer, correct?
Yes,
And I think you also said on direct by the prosecution that you also didn't discuss it with Ms. Melvin, correct?
Is that what you stated, sir? Do you recall that?
at what point didn't I discuss? The night of the first
Yes,
incident, I discussed it with her.
How about the night?
Sorry, guys. I accidentally.
Night of the second incident.
No,
Okay. And let's turn our attention now to the second incident, okay?
yes,
Now, you had already indicated that you were still working security for Ms. Rivers, correct?
yes,
Christmas time comes around, you're just going to have her annual party again, correct?
yes,
Same location in New York City?
yes,
In Manhattan?
yes,
Same building?
yes,
And as I understand it, you arrive early, as is your responsibility and obligation, correct?
yes,
You go upstairs to check the guest list, right?
yes,
You look at the guest list, correct?
yes,
And you see Mr. Spector's name on the guest list, correct?
yes,
And I think you indicated on direct examination by Mr. Dixon, you said you went about your business, it wasn't your call, correct? Isn't that what you testified to?
yes,
Okay. In fact, you thought to yourself a little more than that, didn't you? What you thought to yourself was, oh no, here we go again. In fact, you said, I go, oh, fuck, batter up, correct?
yes. I might even said more,
Okay.
to be honest with you.
Okay. You were concerned, right, Mr. Tanaza? All right.
I saw his name, yes,
And this was because of what you have told us allegedly occurred in the first incident,
yes,
correct? And you thought, I don't want a repeat of what happened last time, correct?
basically, yes,
You come back downstairs to the lobby, guests start to arrive, correct?
yes,
One of the guests who arrives is who? Mr. Spector, correct?
yes,
And when Mr. Spector arrives, you had already checked the guest list. You recognized him from the year before, correct?
yes.
You knew what he looked like. You had no trouble whatsoever recognizing him, correct?
Oh, no trouble, no.
And you decided to let him go upstairs to the party, right?
Yes,
And he went upstairs to the party, correct?
yes,
And I think you indicated he was upstairs at the party for about an hour or so. You don't know exactly how long, but somewhere around an hour, maybe a little more, a little less, when all of a sudden the elevator doors in the lobby open and Miss Melvin and Mr. Spector exit, correct?
yes,
And there's an argument going on between the two of them, right?
yes,
Okay. And Mr. Spector, according to you, is again making these statements. Is that right?
yes,
Now, between the time that you let him go upstairs to the apartment for the party and the time that you saw him arrive back down and exit the elevator with Miss Melvin, that entire time you were not in his presence. Is that correct?
that's correct.
You feel relatively certain that during that time he was up at the party, correct?
Yes,
You know that because you were down in the lobby and you didn't see him leave, correct?
yes,
Other guests were up at the party, correct?
yes,
Other individuals, correct?
yes,
All right. So, as I understand it, when he entered the door, the front door of the lobby, you saw him, you knew he was on the guest list, he went into the elevator and up he went, correct?
yes,
With the knowledge that you have told us here this afternoon, this morning, that you have, that somebody had told you that Mr. Spector had pulled a gun. Vinny, get up here. Phil pulled a gun on someone. With the information that you have in the small, tiny, confined little elevator, where you gently bumped up against him, you moved your hand onto his coat, you felt the butt of a handgun. You actually, before you went up and unholstered your own gun and moved it for ready access. With all of that information, did you search Mr. Spector before he went into the elevator at the second Christmas party before he went upstairs? You didn't, did you?
no,
You didn't ask Mr. Spector whether or not he had a weapon on him at that time, did you?
I didn't speak to him at all.
You were not the only one working security. You were head of security for Miss Rivers, correct?
At what instant?
At the second Christmas party.
I was the only one working security.
Okay. Did you ask anybody to keep an eye on Phil Spector when he went upstairs to the Christmas party? And if there was any problem, to call you immediately? You did not, did you?
Oh, no.
From a year prior, 365 days, just let him go upstairs along all the others. You indicated that when he came down with Miss Melvin in the elevator, standing there for a while, and then the elevator came back down again, opened up, and a woman came out of the elevator, correct?
Yes,
Okay. We're talking at the second Christmas party.
yes,
And I think you indicated that Mr. Spector looked at her, correct?
yes,
And you said that he then started hurling invectives at her, nasty words, correct?
yes,
And I think you said one of the things he said was, I ought to put a bullet in her head right now and blow her fucking brains out. You remember testifying to that?
yes,
You never made that complete statement prior to testifying here in court today, previously, have you?
repeat that, Counselor, you lost me somewhere.
Mr. Tanazo, let me ask it a different way. You spoke with Mr. Tomlin, one of the case agents in this case, back on January 31st of this year, correct?
Yes,
You never used the phrase when you talked to him about this particular portion of your story, and blow her fucking brains out. You never used those words. What you said was, I ought to put a bullet in her head right now, period. Here in court for the first time, you added the words, and blow her fucking brains out, correct?
did I say that?
Yes, you
My
did.
testimony
That was your testimony. That was a mistake, wasn't it?
if it was, Counselor, if I made the mistake, fine, but I don't think I said that. At the second instant,
Yes, you testified here this morning, sir, that you said the following. You quoted Mr. Spector saying, I ought to put a bullet in her head right now and blow her fucking brains out. That was your testimony. You don't recall giving that testimony?
Yes, Your Honor, I don't think that misstates the testimony.
I can't rule on it because I don't have a recollection. We'll see the transcript tomorrow. So I don't recall exactly what his testimony was, word for word, as to that incident. I can't rule on your objection. The jury, if they ask for it, we'll find it. We'll resolve this tomorrow in the morning. We'll take a look at what the testimony was, and we'll let the jurors know by stipulation.
That's fine.
All right?
Okay. If you said that, Mr. Tanazo, let's phrase it this way. If in fact you said that at any time in your testimony here this morning on direct examination, that was the first time you ever said that, isn't that true?
Well, objection, David, it's really confusing as to which part. Blow your brains out?
Yes.
The bullet?
That's the term.
Yes.
Well, do you ever remember making that statement in relationship to that incident?
Did I make that?
Yes, to the best of your knowledge.
You didn't say it.
I'm sorry?
You didn't say it.
He didn't say it.
Well, the jurors must be taking real good notes, Mr. Rosen.
I want your number 60.
Well, in any event, let's do it this way. Do you recall him?
Stipulate.
No, I'm not giving my bar license too, so we can stipulate with Mr. Dixon.
As much as I appreciate the input, that's okay. In order to keep an accurate record, let me just ask you this. Do you have any recollection of testifying to that on the second incident, the last phrase?
No.
All right. And to your memory, have you ever stated that before? Again, the last phrase.
I don't think so.
All right. Thank you. You may proceed.
I'm going back to note-taking class.
Okay.
Now, as I understand it, sir, Mr. Spector got in the car with Miss Melvin, is that correct? Second incident,
Miss Melvin got in the car with Mr. Spector.
either or, they both got in the car, correct? It was a limousine, correct?
Yes,
And they drove away, correct?
yes,
All right. And I think you asked Miss Melvin, are you going to be all right? She said, fine, no problem, and they left, right?
yes.
Okay. And as far as you know, you didn't get any calls later that night that there were any problems, did you?
No, I did not.
Okay. And on the second incident, you did not feel or see any weapon, isn't that correct?
That is correct.
All right. Just a couple of general questions. Mr. Tenazzo, you're here testifying about some incidents that occurred allegedly either in the beginning or towards the middle of the 90s, 1990s, correct?
Yes,
You have no knowledge, as I understand it, about what occurred out at the Grandview address, Mr. Spector's residence, in the morning hours of February 3rd of '03. Isn't that correct?
yes,
No information whatsoever.
none.
You have not seen or spoken to Mr. Spector since that second Christmas incident, correct?
Correct.
And you have no idea who Miss Clarkson is, correct?
None.
You never met her in your life, is that
No, I
right?
did not.
Have you been following this trial at all in the media? Any form of the media? Reading
Yes.
about it? Watching it on TV?
Yes,
Looking at it on the internet?
on TV.
Okay. Reading about it in journals, magazines, newspapers?
No, just following court TV.
Okay. And you've been following it before you came to court, correct?
Yes,
Okay. Have you ever been on television before yourself, sir?
yes,
And you knew that, of course, that this case was being televised, correct?
I'm
You
sorry.
knew that the case was being
Oh, yes.
televised because you watched it.
Yes,
Okay. And just one final other area. You indicated that you have no knowledge that Mr. Spector was drinking on either the first alleged incident or the second alleged incident, correct?
correct,
And you didn't see him stumble, correct?
correct.
And you didn't see him slur his words, did you?
No, I did not.
And you certainly didn't see him lean on anybody for assistance or fall or anything of that nature, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. Nothing further. Your Honor.
Thank you. Redirect. Just a couple questions. Mr. Tenazzo, you made a request not to be on TV,
Yes, I did.
and that you asked that be forwarded to the judge, but it was denied.
That's correct.
So you are on TV because you want to be on TV.
That's correct.
Thank you. Nothing.
Thank you. Recross. All right. Subject to recall. You may step down. Thank you for being here. Do you have another witness?
We do.
Okay.
Okay, hang on, guys. There is no Karen Reed today. They just said unforeseen circumstances. So, you guys want to keep going with Phil Spector? If court TV will quit buffering. I don't have it ready. It will buffer. Stop buffering. part of me, uh, part of me, bummed, but I'm glad because of that top stuff. What's off? Just play the dang video.
Please state spell your first and last name for the record.
J-O-H-N, John.
It says unforeseen circumstances, but the suppositions in the law and crime chat are hilarious. One said Bev got pulled over for a DUI on her broom. Another one said Bev and Yuri are shacked up at our beach house on the Cape. They're hilarious.
On Barons, B-A-R-O-N-S.
Thank you. You may proceed.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. Mr. Barron, sir, and welcome. Thank you very much for coming. You've come quite a distance, haven't you?
From Atlanta.
Okay, so is that right?
Yes, I don't like to fly.
Okay.
And a lot of my friends know that.
We should award for surviving a bus trip on that. Just that, right? Barons, I want.
Can you guys hear me? It doesn't say I'm muted. You can't hear me? StreamYard has been known to do this, though. Hello? Oh, okay.
Part-time bartender also.
Okay. And do you now currently reside in Atlanta, Georgia?
I sure do, yes.
And before you moved to Atlanta, Georgia, where did you live?
I lived in Las Vegas for a time, about 2 years.
And how long did you live in Los Angeles before you transitioned to Las Vegas? And then
I moved to in
indulgence for a minute, please. Okay, so April of 2000, you moved from LA, correct?
moved to LA, yes, sir.
Okay. And how long were you residing here before you moved?
I lived here for 3.5 years before I moved.
So for probably 2003 and a half.
Yes,
Okay.
of course.
Okay. And during the time that you resided here, Mr. Barons, where did you live?
I lived in various places. I lived in Van Nuys for a time. I also lived on Gardner in West Hollywood.
Okay. And at that time, what was your profession?
I did waitering, bartending work. I was trying to get my play produced. Just a writer trying to make it in this town. Well,
You can say it's okay.
it did pretty well. It did pretty well.
Stop it. I didn't tell you to change the layout. Stupid thing.
In terms of writing the play, did you also have a participation in developing the play and casting?
Now Court TV. Where's Carla? I was going to say, Jill, you get StreamYard. Carla get Court TV, but Carla's not here. You did? You tell Court TV to quit buffering. What do you have on your back? What did you get?
Okay. I'm going to ask you to take a look at what's up on the screen. Do you reckon that? And when did the show actually play? When did the show?
Well, we were supposed to go and sit.
Uh-oh. That was my bad. I'm sorry. That's all your fault. You distracted me, Shadow. I pushed the wrong button. Hang on. It's all your fault, Shadow. All your fault. It's a good thing we were close to the beginning of that one. Debbie. Shoot. See, my plans got screwed up. Now I'm all discombobulated. Nancy? The fan was scheduled for maintenance. That's hilarious. Where's the full screen thingy? Oh, no.
Part-time bartender also.
Okay. And do you now currently reside in Georgia? Where did you live?
I lived in Las Vegas for a time, about 2 years. And before that, here in Los Angeles.
And how long did you live in Los Angeles before you transitioned to Las Vegas and then on to Atlanta?
I moved to Los Angeles in...
And now it's going to buffer. It was just playing nicely.
Court's indulgence for a minute, please. Okay, so April of 2000, you moved from LA, correct?
I moved to LA, yes, sir.
Okay. And how long were you residing here before you moved?
I lived here for approximately 3.5 years before I moved to Las Vegas.
Okay. So you moved from here approximately 2003 and a half?
Yes,
Okay.
or 3/4.
Okay. And during the time that you resided here, Mr. Behrens, where did you live?
I lived in various places. I lived in Van Nuys for a time. I also lived on Gardner in West Hollywood.
Okay. And at that time, what was your profession?
I did waitering, bartending work. I was trying to get my play produced. Just a writer trying to make it in this town.
Okay. And as I understand it, you did write a play, did you not?
Yes, I certainly did.
And it was a pretty famous play, wasn't it?
Well,
You could say it's okay.
it did pretty well. It did pretty well. And a few famous people came to see it and they really enjoyed it.
And why don't you tell the jury what the name of the play was?
It's called Brentwood Blondes.
Brentwood Blondes?
Yes.
Okay. And maybe we should spell that for Diane.
BRENTWOOD. Blondes, BLONDES.
Okay. And you were the individual that wrote the play, is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And in terms of writing the play, did you also have a participation in developing the play and casting the play?
Yes, I was in charge of casting, making the final decisions as far as casting. I obviously produced it also. It was a small budget play, very small budget, kind of humble little show.
All right. Let me ask you to take a look at something, if I may, please. Jen, could we have up the... And I'd ask you to turn your attention to the screen. Your Honor, we ask that this be marked next in order. It's actually 2 pages, so...
2 pages, subtotal M.
L?
M.
M. Okay. I'm going to ask you to take a look at what's up on the screen. Do you recognize that?
Yes, that is the program for the show.
Okay. And when did the show actually play? What was the date of the show?
Well, we originally were supposed to go on the 6th, but we had to postpone it a week, February 13th.
Okay, February 13th through February 23, is that correct?
Right. We originally had 3 weeks at the Complex Theater, but we cut it down to 2 weeks.
Okay, and that's out on Santa Monica Boulevard in Hollywood at Wilcox?
Yes, between Cole and Cahuenga.
Okay, and what year was that, sir?
2003.
So the play went on from February 13th, excuse me, through February 23rd, 2003, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, Jen, can I have the next page, please? I'm not embarrassing you, am I?
Kind of a silly picture, but
Okay. You see a picture up there of somebody you know, Mr. Behrens.
yes,
And who might that be?
that's myself.
Okay. And does that give a little description of you, sir?
Yes, a little bio. We each had a little bio and a picture, letting the audience know who the cast and who some of the crew was.
Okay. And this particular piece of paper looks like it's divided into 2 parts. On the right side, you have your name, your picture, your bio. On the left side, it appears to have the cast members and the scenes and the acts, et cetera. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Can we take a look for a moment? Jen, could you blow up cast, please? Let's take a look at the section that's entitled cast. Thank you. All right. Could you just share with us a little bit, Mr. Behrens? Tell us a little bit about what the play was about that you wrote and produced, and tell us a little bit about the cast members. Well, let's say, tell us first about the different roles, and then we'll talk about the cast members.
Would you like a brief synopsis about the play before I do that?
Yes, if you would just turn to the jury, tell them what it was about.
Brentwood Blondes is a play that explores the possible existence of an afterworld of three blonde glamour girls who have lost their lives at the hands of famous men.
Okay.
And that's Marilyn Monroe, Sharon Tate, and Nicole Brown Simpson.
Okay, so let's take a look at the cast.
It seems that's not evidence with respect to Marilyn Monroe.
This is what he based his play upon. This is what the play is based on. Okay? It's a play. Thank you. You may proceed.
Entertainment. Thank you. So the role Marilyn is fashioned after, at least the way you were Marilyn Monroe.
Yes, sir.
Sharon is after Sharon Tate.
Yes, sir.
And Nicole is after Nicole Simpson Brown.
Yes, sir.
And the names on the right-hand side, I am assuming that those are the actors, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And is it politically correct to say actor for both male and female performers?
I believe that, most actors would, or actresses don't mind being called, just the term generic actor.
Okay. And I noticed it says that the role of Marilyn was to be played by Jessica, is it Kipper or Kuiper?
Kuiper.
And Sharon is to be played by?
Bronwyn Davis.
Can I suggest that we limit it to what's relevant to these proceedings?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. Let's take a look at the first character of Marilyn Monroe. And it says that it was played by Jessica Kuiper. Was it in fact played by Jessica Kuiper?
Yes, sir.
Before Jessica Kuiper, well, let me ask you this. Did you actually go through a process of having people try out for the parts?
Yes, there was an audition, and then there were callbacks.
Okay. And did various people apply for auditions for the role of Marilyn?
Yes, approximately, there were 35 actors involved in the process, and I'd say 1/3 of them auditioned as for Marilyn.
Okay. And after the initial audition, is it a narrowing down process?
Yes, it was. We narrowed it down to approximately 3 people per. Marilyn, Sharon, and Nicole were the 3 main characters. So we narrowed it down to 3 actors for each role.
All right, let's focus in on Marilyn, okay? Who are I guess we'll say the final 3 candidates for Marilyn?
The final 3 were Lana Clarkson, Amber, I don't remember Amber's last name, and another actor, and I don't remember her name.
Okay. When you say Lana Clarkson, did you meet Lana Clarkson?
Yes.
Did she audition for you?
Yes, she did.
Did you get to know her?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Now, her name does not appear as the actor under the section cast for the role of Marilyn. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right, we'll get to that in a moment. First, I'd like you to take a look at a photo, if we may. Jen, may I have the next photo, please? And Your Honor, I believe we'd ask that this be marked defendants next in order, which would be defendants N, sextuple N, isn't
Yes.
it? Okay. And I'm going to ask you to take a look at that photo. Do you see Miss Clarkson in that photo?
Yes, I do.
And could you please point her out for the jury?
She's on the far left wearing the leopard jacket.
Okay. Now, how long a period of time would you say it was prior to February 3rd of '03 that you spent in Ms. Clarkson, that you knew Ms. Clarkson? Was it a week, a month and a half?
8 weeks.
Approximately 2 months.
Yes.
And then that would have been in what period of time before February?
December 3rd of '02. The callbacks were on the 12th of '02. And
The 12th of December?
yes,
Okay.
and rehearsal started in January of '03, just after the holidays.
All right. And when you got down to the final 3, you had to make a decision, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you did make a decision.
I certainly did.
And whom did you hire?
I hired Lana Clarkson as Marilyn.
Okay. And you hired her to play the part of Marilyn?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And after you hired her, do you remember when it was you hired her, what day it would have been?
I called everyone as soon as the second auditions were done. Even if they did not get the part, I called everyone to let them know what was going on. So it would have been that day or at the latest the following day.
And approximately when was that?
The 12th.
The 12th of December?
Yes.
Of '02?
Of '02.
Okay. Between the 12th of December in '02 and some date thereafter, how many times did you meet or speak with Lana Clarkson?
Quite often. She really wanted the part. And when she got the part, she was very excited about getting the part. And she actually was the only one who got my home phone number, and we chatted, almost daily.
Do you feel you got to know her pretty well?
Yes, I do.
Now, we looked at the part and we noticed that Lana Clarkson's name is not the actor who fulfills the role for Marilyn. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Somebody else did, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Would you explain to the jury why Lana Clarkson did not ultimately wind up playing the role of Marilyn in your play?
It's kind of a long story.
Well, you just take your time.
Okay.
It does call for a narrative.
It clearly calls for a narrative, so you're going to have to do it through question and answer.
Okay. We'll do it this way. When you called her and told her she got the position, what was her reaction?
She was very excited. She couldn't wait to meet and get the script.
Okay. Did she say anything to you about her feelings about Marilyn Monroe?
Yes, she felt very close to Marilyn as a person, how Marilyn lived her life, how her life has gone. She said it was a dream playing Marilyn, and she was extremely excited at the prospect of this.
Did she say and express to you her admiration for Marilyn Monroe?
Very much so, yes.
How did she do that?
She told me that her bedroom was adorned with Marilyn pictures, maybe some memorabilia. She had seen all of her films, that kind of thing.
Did she ever use the word idol in terms of describing Marilyn?
Yes.
How did she do that?
She actually said Marilyn was my idol, and I just absolutely loved her.
You mentioned a moment ago that she compared her life to Marilyn's. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. Share with us if you would.
With respect to this issue.
I'm going to allow it. And I know what the issue is, so I don't have to come to the bench. Overruled.
Let me finish the question. The question is you told us that she had expressed to you that she compared her life to Marilyn's. Could you please explain to the jury what she said?
Well, aside from the obvious blonde, glamour girl kind of situation that Marilyn and the life that she led, there were certain familial things that she related to in Marilyn's life. She did not have much of a relationship with her father, she told me, as Marilyn Monroe also didn't. She felt that her career was everything, and that Marilyn felt her career was everything. And that similarity was just, something that she just built so much of her life on, and she just absolutely loved Marilyn Monroe more than I can say.
Okay. What was the next thing that happened after you called her up and told her that she had been awarded the part and she was very, very thrilled and excited?
Well, with all the other actresses, I met them to give them a copy of the script.
Okay. And did Lana show up?
Yes, we met at a restaurant in Sherman Oaks.
Okay.
And
tell us what happened. Tell us what happened with Lana.
Sure. I had been there for a few minutes and had my coffee and was waiting for her. She was a little bit late. She apologized for being late. And gosh, she got the script and she was all excited and she was really hungry. I think she had just come from the gym. And so she asked me if she could order some breakfast. And sure. So she ordered a very large breakfast, and we talked during the breakfast. She just was very excited about having the script and having the part, and, it just seemed to make her very happy.
Mr. Burns, did there come a time when you had to deliver some sad news to Lana Clarkson?
Yes, that wasn't until January.
I understand. I want you to focus on this. Around mid-December, December 12th, 13th, 14th, you meet with her at the restaurant, correct? Sir?
Yes, sir.
Let me explain something. I know this is unfamiliar to you. In courtrooms, you have to answer out
Yes.
loud because
Nothing.
otherwise it doesn't wind up in the record. And if it doesn't wind up in the record, then it creates problems for everyone. Okay, so please, if you would, you're doing fine. I know it's a little different, but just answer out.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we're talking January 12th, 13th, 14th. Mid-January, she gets the news that she's going to play the part of Marilyn Monroe in your play.
Yes, sir.
Fast forward now. There comes a time in January, as I understand it, when you have to deliver some bad news to Lana Clarkson, correct?
Yes, sir.
Tell the jury what happened.
Well, it was a Thursday rehearsal. Lana had been over my apartment the night before. We worked for 3.5, 4 hours on scene 1, which was difficult because it had 3 monologues in it. And we were trying to tailor her speech patterns so that she would have an easier time with these monologues. And, we chatted and hung out and, had a long talk. Well, the next day she came into rehearsal and announced to the rest of the cast that John and I had rewritten the script.
Excuse me, John referring to you?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And that made me my jaw dropped. Everyone in the cast was dumbfounded that.
That's conference speculation.
That portion will be stricken. The jury's admonished to disregard it.
We did not rewrite the script. We went over scene 1 and we tried to make it so that she would be able to speak these monologues in an easier fashion. We even chopped up the first monologue in smaller portions. But she came into the next rehearsal and announced that we had rewritten the script. And I was very upset.
Did something happen after you became upset about this?
Yes, during the rest of the rehearsal on that Thursday, I just decided at that point that I could not continue to have her cast as Marilyn, and that I would have to look into recasting the part. And rehearsal went on as usual. But in my mind, I knew that I would either be calling Amber or calling friends to see if there was somehow we could recast in time for February opening night.
Mr. Barron, did you notice something unusual about the way Lana related to the other actors in the play during rehearsals?
Overruled at this point, we'll see. You may answer.
There were times, and there were certain actors who came to me directly and said they were intimidated by her. There were requests for gowns by Valentino.
Who made the request? For
Lana Clarkson did.
Thank you.
Did you know her to ever become overbearing or aggressive with any of the other participants in the play?
Jackson Baker's time.
Well, it's a very small time period in this that's being discussed, so I'll overrule the objection.
Well, during one of the rehearsals, the second act starts with a dance. And she has decided that she did not want to do this dance for the length of time that I wanted the dance done for. It was an approximate 2.5-minute dance. And she did not want to do it for this long. She wanted it chopped into like 15 or 20 seconds. And she got her way through sheer aggressiveness.
Okay. When you made the decision, let's come back to the point now where you said you made a decision in your own mind that you were going to strike out and contact another actor. Who informed Ms. Clark? Well, let me ask, was Ms. Clarkson, let me answer this one first. Was Ms. Clarkson informed that she was no longer to play the part?
She was informed, yes.
Who informed her?
Reluctantly, I did.
And was that about mid-January of '03?
That was January 10th of '03.
And would I be correct in assuming that, well, you tell me, how did she react to that when you called her up and told her that her services were no longer going to be needed?
At first, she was in disbelief that this was actually happening. Something led up to the decision of my doing the firing. I had originally asked Jeff Sharlin, who built the sets for the show, to fire her. But on that Friday morning, she called my house and left a extremely long message that just, it made it clear that it had to be done that day. And I called her back, and she couldn't speak right away. She said, "Can I call you back?" And so I'm like, "Okay, sure, but please do." And when she called me back, I just said, "Lana, we need to talk." And I went into reasons that were making it very difficult for her to continue with the show. And she was just in disbelief. And then I said, "Lana, I can't go on like this with, you as Marilyn." And then she accepted it really quickly and said, "I still need my personal property," which included her black loafers. And I said, "Fine, we'll get those back to you." But she accepted it right away.
Okay. And I'm assuming that you then filled the role of Marilyn with Ms. Kuiper, is that correct?
The director, yes, we found Jessica and we filled the role, yes.
Okay. Between the time which I think you said was January 10th when you terminated her services,
Yes, sir.
and mid-December, which was, I think you said around December 12th, December 13th, when you told her she had gotten the heart.
Yes, sir.
So we're talking approximately a period of about a month, a little less than a month, around 4 weeks, right?
Yes, sir.
And you told us that during that 4-week period, you had a lot of conversations with her, correct?
I certainly did.
You had a lot of conversations with her over the telephone,
Over the telephone,
face to face?
in person, you know.
And is there any way you could estimate how many hours or days in that 4-week period that you spent with her?
We spoke probably every other day,
So it was very frequently.
very frequent.
I want to ask you some specific questions. And I know you can't pinpoint the exact conversation, but it was during this 4-week period. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Did the subject matter regarding the House of Blues job that she had taken come up in conversation?
Yes, it did.
Would you share with us, please?
Well, it may or may not be, I don't know what's being offered for. You know, I come to the bench and make a brief offer for sure. Okay.
Mr. Burns, I was asking you about whether or not in the course of this 4-week period when you spoke with her almost every other day, either in person or on the phone, did the subject matter of the House of Blues come up?
Yes, it did.
And did she explain to you that she had taken a job at the House of Blues?
Yes, she did.
Did she tell you how happy or unhappy she was about it?
Well, she just,
First, I gotta lay the foundation, either yes or no.
she wasn't, it wasn't an acting job, so she wasn't really happy about it.
Is that enough to throw them out?
No, it's a technical malfunction. It's an equipment malfunction.
Oh, okay. Well, you know that Ms. Harris won't be talking to me today. Let's go to the next. Now that I've laid the foundation, now you can tell the jury how she expressed her unhappiness or dissatisfaction with this. Tell us.
She told me that she had made her living through acting and modeling for the last 20 years. And that this was her first corporate job in that 20-year time. It was not an acting job, and it was not something that made her really happy. She also said at rehearsal one night in front of the entire cast that she had taken this job and that it was, in fact, she had repeated, it was the first time in 20 years that she's had to take a job outside of acting. And she didn't say to everybody else that it made her unhappy, but she also mentioned the House of Blues because the time that, okay.
I believe you have answered the question. Next question, please.
Did she say anything further about the House of Blues and her feelings about having to take that job?
No, sir, except for the timing that she had to go into work at a certain time, and we had to start the show a little bit earlier because of her schedule, that's all.
Okay. During this 4-week period, did you have a friend named Gina?
Gina.
A neighbor?
Tina, she was the building manager, yes.
Boy, my note-taking today really is bad. Okay. Tina.
Yes.
And during that 4-week period, was there an incident where Tina came by and talked to you about something?
Well,
Just yes or no?
yes, sir.
And when Tina came by on this particular incident, was Lana there?
Yes, sir.
Could you tell us what happened?
Tina walked by my apartment when Lana and I were working on the script. Tina was wearing a neck brace, and I asked her, what happened? Was she all right?
It better, well, it's not being offered for the truth of the matter. It seems to be leading to something. I'm hoping that it's relevant. If not, I'm going to strike it. And I would ask, do you have a statement of this witness? Do you is this, maybe, I'm talking to you, Mr. Dixon.
Oh,
I mean, if there's
I
something.
wasn't sure.
Yeah.
No, I don't have anything from Tina that I know about.
I'm looking.
Okay. Well, then we need to come to the bench. The reason I was asking is I assume that if there were matters that were going to be objectionable, we would have done it
Perhaps
before.
Mr. Rosen and I can resolve.
All right, why don't you go talk to Mr. Rosen? All right, approach the bench. And by the time we're done, it's going to be time for the jury. So actually, we can do it in open court. Ladies and gentlemen, keeping in mind the admonition, we'll see you tomorrow morning at 9:30, and the witness is ordered to return to 9:30 tomorrow morning. Thank you. All right, the juror, you can step down. Thank you. The jurors and the alternates have left. Yes, Mr. Rosen?
I'll just read to January 8th of 2003, Clarkson came to Barron's apartment in Van Nuys to work with him on her part of the script.
Hold on a second. I can't tell if that's laughter or some other problem I should be. Chandra?
You're laughing.
Oh, laughing, okay. Laughter's good, all right. Okay,
They were discussing my note taking.
I see, okay. Go ahead, I'm sorry. Yes, you may.
On January 8th, 2003, Clarkson came to Barron's apartment in Van Nuys to work with him on her part of the script to make changes for her speech pattern. They spent several hours together that day. At one point, a friend came over indicating she had been in a car accident and she was wearing a neck brace. This is Tina.
Okay,
Brown offered his friend some Vicodin. Clarkson piped up that she wanted some, so Barron's gave her 2, which she took.
okay, you've established what I need to know. Thank you. Anything further?
Well, it's just relevancy, but
There's lots of relevancy.
thank you.
Okay, thank you.
We had one other
Okay,
request. From time to time, pictures show up here on the screen without council letting us know what's coming. We just appreciate that courtesy.
you will please clear photographs with people before you put them up on the screen.
I'm sorry, I thought these had been given to the people.
It's not a matter of whether or not they've been given to the people. It's a matter of whether or not they've been published to the jurors. And every picture that
Mr. Jackson?
I'll calm down and let
Okay.
Mr. Dixon handle it. It's
All right.
annoying me to
For
know.
example, the picture that went up when fireman paramedic Stark was on the stand.
Yes.
We didn't know that was coming until it was there. And just.
Well, how many pictures is the defense given?
Look, I'm going to let Mr. Clark get this, because he's been,
They have the pictures. I
I
think
know
they're
that.
saying they just didn't know they were coming up now.
Well, the question is, you may have given them thousands of pictures, at which time they wouldn't necessarily know that there's something to object to. I know what they're talking about. I think it was obvious. It's not necessarily inappropriate. It's just obvious, the use of a certain picture. I think it was pretty clear. Be that as it may, all I'm asking you is how many pictures do you have?
We gave them, I think, 2 or 3, but there's actually some that we just realized we didn't give them, and we're going to give those the rest of them today.
and the rest of those are maybe 7 or 8.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we just recently.
Well, you have to assume that if they're going to be using those photographs, do you have any objections? If you do, let me know.
Once I get the photographs, we'll bring it up.
There's no
Thank you.
problem.
Okay, all right.
Thank you. I'm out of the discovery group on this.
There is one thing we should probably do before Mr. Spector leaves. It's occurred to me, when Mr. Cutler was getting ready to leave for a period of time, he mentioned that it was agreeable to his client, but I don't think we've ever done it formally. And since Mr. Cutler, at least at times, has been denominated the lead lawyer, though clearly he's going to be gone for a period of time, I want to make sure that Mr. Spector has no objections to that. Mr. Spector, is that good with you? You're okay with that? All right, thank you very much, appreciate it. Okay. Okay,
Thank you, Your Honor.
all right, thank you, 9:30 tomorrow.
Hey guys, I'm back. Ah. Look at all we've done already. We can watch him again. Just kidding. We are not watching him again.
Mr. President, with his counsel, the district attorneys are present. The jurors and alternates are not present.
Fun.
Somebody's requested them out of the presence. Before we do that,
What in the... I'm just playing. God bless America. I got Fiddler on one screen and I got John Barons on the other. What are you doing, StreamYard?
This court is now in session. The Honorable
You guys, I am not in the mood for this today. Because I have to go to the doctor this afternoon. I don't like going to the doctor. Because I am there far too much.
jurors and alternates are not present. Somebody's requested them out of the presence. Before we do that, as you may recall, determine whether Mr. Tenazzo had made a statement in the morning, and we didn't have benefit of the transcript. Juror number 6 blurted out that his notes indicated the witness didn't make the statement. He sent a note to me saying he would be willing to apologize to all parties for blurting that out. He was sort of inadvertent. Okay, who wanted the out of the presence? No, I don't. Unless you do. Okay.
Oh, no, we're fine.
All right.
I guess through an offer of proof, Mr. Rosen has indicated there's a photograph first used with the first or this witness officer on the stand of the next thing to call, which will be the subject of my next point that I want to bring up. The photograph, I believe, is irrelevant for purposes.
I don't see that far out, so if you want to bring it up.
Sure.
You young prosecutors are all eyes go.
See, old prosecutors can loan you their glasses.
Okay.
I fail to see the relevance of it. Counsel has indicated that he intends to use it with Raul Julia, or Raul Julia Levy, or Raul Julia Jr., unless there's a foundation for something that's relevant. I don't see it. I mean, one of the first things that counsel indicated when they started this case was they have absolutely no intention of doing anything salacious insofar as the victim is concerned, and I guess dragging her through the mud, et cetera, et cetera. It seems like some of these pictures are being chosen for a very particularized reason, and I simply like an offer of proof as to the specific relevance for purposes of this trial and these proceedings when photographs like this are being suggested that they may be used.
Okay, Mr. Rosen.
Thank you. The prosecution was in possession of many photographs of the victim. They picked and they chose what they wanted to show the jury. We are in possession of a few photographs. We have picked and chosen from those few photographs for us to show the jury. Like in any lawsuit in the world, there are two positions. That's why it turns into a lawsuit. They have tried to paint very carefully a portrait of Lana Clarkson as one particular individual and as that individual at all times in her life. That's their position. That's fine. We know that that's not the case, and we know that's not the truth. And the truth is that Lana Clarkson, like all of us, had different personalities and was a different person with different individuals, just as everyone on the planet Earth is. This is a picture. Mr. Julia is going to identify this picture. Mr. Julia is going to testify, and the prosecution knows this, that the way he knew Ms. Clarkson was much more than in the presentation that the government has made as somebody who looks lovely 20 years ago on a photo that they've shown. He knew her for quite some time. He spent a lot of time with her. They had a relationship. He knew her to be in a different light than the government is trying. This jury should have a,
Well, let's be specific.
Mr. Julia's going to talk about a sexual relationship. He is going to talk about an intimate relationship, a confidential relationship where Ms. Clarkson spoke to issues regarding suicide. He's going to speak on issues of recreational drug use by himself and Ms. Clarkson, alcohol use, drug use, depression, suicidal discussions, weapons, the fact that Ms. Clarkson told him that he was going to get a gun and ultimately did get a gun. I've already told Mr. Jackson, I'm going to show a picture of the 38, ask him if it fits the description. Not that it is the gun, he's not going to say that, but if it fits the description of the gun she indicated she wanted to purchase, and that he knew her in a, and I don't know whether this sends the right message or not, that he knew her in a party life. This is not, and I'm going to say this, and I'm sure there are going to be people that are going to criticize myself and others on the defense team and say, we are quote unquote.
Did he say knew her in a prior life? Did I hear that wrong? He didn't say that, did he?
Trashing the victim. This is not about trashing the victim. This is about giving the jury the full panoply of information that they should have to make a decision in this case.
What I'm going to do, I'm going to cut you off because it's almost 9:45. I have asked counsel not to get into these lengthy discussions when we're on the jury's time. This is not the witnesses testifying. These matters need to be addressed, and we will address them prior to the time that this witness testifies, because apparently this picture is only to be shown to this witness, as I understand. I show this to Mr. Behrens, who's on the stand, are you?
I think Mr. Behrens has already identified her. This picture will be shown also to other. I think he's already identified her with a picture. Maybe I'm mistaken.
Not this picture.
No, but I can show him that picture too.
Well, at this point, we're going to hold off on this picture.
And I just want to get another thing.
Yes.
I didn't bring this up, but I want the court to know that this picture was taken by a very close friend, and there are others that can identify this picture also. It's not just Mr.
We'll get to the issue of the picture with the appropriate witness. Let's move forward with the witness that's on the stand.
Absolutely. The only reason I didn't know if the court would take a break between the first and second witness.
We will.
I think the second witness is the one that becomes the issue.
That's the one that will take the time. We'll tell the jurors they'll be aware.
Okay.
All right, let's proceed with the witnesses on the stand.
Sorry about that.
Yes.
Just one quick.
Yes.
Mr. Floyd has an offer of proof on Mr. Julie. Would you like us to file a report?
Sure.
It might help you.
Thank you. Okay.
Basically, Your Honor, it's just reports that we generate.
Okay. Thank you. All right, the record will now reflect that the jurors and alternates are present. The witness previously sworn and still under oath is approaching the witness stand, and once he's there, you may need to resume the examination.
Good morning, Mr. Behrens,
Good morning.
and thanks for coming back this morning. I think when we recessed last night, as I recall, we were talking about a situation where I think you said you were at your residence, Ms. Clarkson was there, and a neighbor, Tina, walked by. All right, and I'd like to just kind of pick it up there, and I'm just going to ask you some questions of yesterday, just so we can get back to where we were, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. So Tina walked, I think as you indicated yesterday, she had a neck brace on. She'd been in a car accident or something.
Yes, she was, yes.
Okay. And tell us what happened.
She walked by and I saw the neck brace and I asked her, Tina, what happened? Are you all right? And she said, I was just in a car accident. She said, no, I've been to the doctor. And I said, well, do you need anything, any aspirin, any pains and anything? And she said, no, I'm fine.
Okay. And did something happen with Lana at that point?
Well, that's the night she was, the evening, she was over my house working on scene 1 from the play.
Okay. And did the subject of Vicodin come up?
Yes, it did.
Did you have Vicodin?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And would you like to share with the jury why you had Vicodin?
It was for a medical condition. In January of 1999, I was diagnosed with full-blown AIDS.
Okay. And did you have the Vicodin in relationship to the illness?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And was it doctor prescribed?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what happened in terms of the conversation between Lana Clarkson and you regarding Vicodin?
She told me that she was still in pain from her wrist being broken and that
I don't like that. I really don't like that. Really, really don't like that. They just outed this poor guy on the witness stand. I don't know what to say other than I don't like that. Like, that's not right. I'm sorry, but that's not right.
working at the computer all evening, for those 3.5, 4 hours, she was still in pain. And could she get a couple for her pain?
And what happened?
And I recognized that she was in pain, so I gave her 2.
Okay. Did she take them?
Yes, she did.
Okay. I want to switch gears for a moment. I want to back up. We were speaking about your play yesterday, Mr. Behrens, Directly Blondes, okay? And I want to go back to that for a second. And I'd like you to explain to the jury, if you would, how the actors got paid and if there was any type of equity sharing agreement.
It was an equity waiver production. They were only paid $5 per performance, next to nothing. But they 1 point toward membership. It takes 2 points to join equity. So this was halfway into joining equity. Having done this production, she would have been halfway to her equity card.
For those of us that are not in the entertainment industry and apply our trades elsewhere, would you explain to the jury what does that mean, equity membership and
With this base, I'm sorry. What this basically means is she could, after she got her second point, she could do any equity productions and get paid far more than the $5 fee that I was giving her. She could audition for major, theatrical productions because she was a member. It's like being a member of the Screen Actors Guild. You've got to be a member in order to get parts with that guild. It's just the stage guild into the
Application process.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
As I understand, the actual
I hope to talk to him about it before he got on the stand. The stigma in the early 2000s was not as bad. But there was still a stigma. I remember, let me see, was that RN school or LPN? That was LPN school. In LPN school, that was the early 90s. I remember someone in my class asking because we had clinicals where we would actually go work in the hospital and they wouldn't give us as many patients as like the floor nurses. We get like 1 or 2, usually just 1. And I remember them asking if they would have to take care of an AIDS patient. One of the students asked, and I said, why not? Because when we're nurses, we don't get to pick. We don't get to say, oh no, I don't want to take care of the AIDS patient. So why should we have to, why do we have the choice of not taking care of them when we're students? And so we did have an AIDS patient and they gave him to me because I said that in class, which I don't care, and you're right. It doesn't make a difference. Who knows? But there is a stigma to it, and there are people that are so afraid of it that they think they're going to catch it just by being in the same room with them or whatever too. But to have to, I feel like that's forced is what I meant. I didn't mean like he should be ashamed of it or anything. That's not what I meant. I meant like he was forced to say it. He's there under subpoena. He's not there under his own free will. He's not giving that answer because he wants to tell everybody about it. That's what I meant. Right. That's what I meant. Well, yeah. See, he could have just said that. Maybe he didn't care. Maybe that's why he said AIDS instead of not just saying he has a medical condition that has pain issues. Yeah, that's true too. Yeah. Maybe he doesn't care. But no. I meant as having AIDS. No, I meant the medical condition. No. I meant the medical condition. Because your medical, well, you guys know I am about, like, it's private. If you want to tell people you have a medical condition, that's your business. Right, Jill. Like, I don't go around telling people that I have depression either. Because there's a stigma to it. It's like, oh, you're mentally ill. So, I have diabetes too. It just means my pancreas doesn't work right. My brain chemicals aren't right. I have to take medicine to regulate it, just like I have to take medicine to regulate my pancreas chemicals. It's chemicals in my body. It's not anything to be ashamed of. It's my chemicals aren't working right in my body. The chemicals in my pancreas don't work right. The chemicals in my brain don't work right. It's not my fault. Oh my God. That's awful. That's horrible. Also in nursing school, we listened to a woman. They had like this big like AIDS awareness thing in the medical school part of the college. where this woman stood up and like gave this whole speech thing about how she got it from her husband, who I guess had been cheating on her, and brought it home. So it's not, when it first, like in the 80s, when it first became known, it was like drug addicts and homosexuals have it. It's like God's wrath on sin, like it had this big taboo. It's not. It's a disease. Any other disease. It's get over yourselves, people. God. But I'm just saying, like, medical conditions are private, and I feel like he just like made him have to tell the whole world he has it. You know what I mean? That's what I meant.
$5 per performance.
Yes, sir.
Okay. While we're on that subject, let me ask you a question. Did you have the play financially structured in a particular way where certain charities would have benefited?
Yes, I decided early on to provide a certain amount of money to the Doris Tate Foundation and Brown Foundation, 9% each.
Okay, and would you take a moment and explain to the jury what the 9% figure?
Well,
Sustain.
Both of
Also, just putting this out there, Rent, if you like musicals, Rent is excellent. Not the stage play. I mean, the stage play is good, but if you want to see a very realistic, I cry every time I watch it, y'all. The angel in the hospital in the movie Rent, they did such a good job. It is so realistic. It breaks my heart every time I see it. That I can't even talk about it without tearing up. So realistic. If you want to see what it looks like when an AIDS patient is on the decline, Rent. They had to have known someone. I mean, it was so realistic.
those were charities, correct?
yes, sir.
Okay. And so the total percentage would have been 18% to the two charities, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now I want to go to another area if we can, please. You indicated that you spent quite some
Darn it.
time with Lana, either in person or over the phone, during about a 4-week period
Yes,
between the middle of December of 2002 and the middle of January of 2003, correct?
yes, sir.
During that time, I'm going to ask you, did you get to know Lana fairly well?
Fairly well, yes. Yes, I did.
Did she confide in you?
We had some things in common, and we built on those things.
Okay.
That is scary, Carla. Yeah, I've heard that. I haven't seen that one. I need to watch that one. Now, now when you go to give blood, well, I haven't given blood in a while, a very long while, but what they did because of that, like, when you go to give blood, like, let's say you have a family member or a friend or whatever that's sick in the hospital, so your family and friends are pushing you to go give blood for that person, and you know that you have it, but you don't want your friends and family to know. You can tell them at the blood bank, I'm giving blood, but I don't want you to use it, but I don't want my family to know, and they will actually mark the blood do not use. So it is a very private, confidential thing, and you don't have to tell your family, no, I have AIDS or I have HIV, you can't use my blood for our relative or our friend or whatever. So you can actually tell them at the blood bank, don't use my blood, I'm only giving blood because my family's pressuring me to do this. So it's very private, and that's why I had the reaction that I had, because I mean, this was this was the late 2000s, so the stigma wasn't. And like now with the new drugs they have, you can live your life, pretty much. I mean, they even can get your T cell count to where you can even not pass it on to other people. Although I don't think I would take that chance. But still, the medicines they have now, you can live an entire life. It's not necessarily fatal anymore. I mean, you still have to take precautions, but.
Did she ever describe herself to you in a particular way regarding her, how would I say this? Her physical being. Let me ask it that way.
Her big and foundation. I mean, 4 weeks.
Overruled. You may answer.
How she was physically?
Yes.
She was a little self-conscious about her height.
Okay.
Which I tried to tell her that, it was great on her. I mean, it was something she shouldn't be self-conscious about.
Did she say anything to you about her propensity for being involved in accidents of any kind?
Well, during the working on scene one, after she got the pain medicine, she stopped working scene one and we just chatted. And she, told me about breaking her wrists and doing the river dance. And then she also told me that she was in an accident in Argentina, I think it was, on a movie set, that she had to be flown to some hospital from an accident on the movie set. And, she's just like, I can be real klutzy, that kind of a thing.
Okay. Did she say anything about being accident prone?
That was like part of the conversation. It's like, well, I guess I'm kind of accident prone, just opposites.
Okay. I think you indicated also you're at a restaurant, and that was on December 19th of 2002. Is that right?
That was when I gave her the script, yes.
Did you notice something a little unusual about her behavior?
I thought we were just meeting for coffee.
Right. I think you indicated she ordered a full breakfast.
Full breakfast, yes.
What was it that caught your attention about her conduct that
her fingers for the waitress, and it's like, I kind of, the waitress looked at me and I went, I'm like really sorry that whenever anyone snapped it only happened like 3 or 4 times in 15 years as I was a waiter, and I felt, you don't, your fingers at a waiter. I mean.
Okay. Did she ever speak to you about her age and her career?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Now that you answer that, would you share with the jury what it is she told you about her age and her career?
Well, we both kind of, we were in our 40s. She was 40. I was great. We were, getting on. And she thought that she would have had made it a little further in her career by now. She was good looking enough to have made it a little further along, and she was kind of disappointed that she hadn't.
How important did she say her career was to her?
Lana's career was everything to her.
And what about fame? Did she discuss that?
Fame was the same thing as her career. That was her goal. It was everything.
Did she indicate to you that of her interest in her career should out let's just get married?
It's about men, marriage, kids. And the most important thing to her was her career and becoming famous. That was everything.
I want to return
The reverse indicators
in a particular place in the play where the pool
Stop, StreamYard. This is what I wanted to know. This is the part about the pool
And I
boy.
think she committed suicide. And the pool boy says, look on the bright side. On the bright side is suicide. And Marilyn says, oh my God, people are going to think I committed suicide. And after the pool boy said that, she said,
out of character when she's
out of character.
okay. And just so we understand, when I say out of character, can you explain what that means, please?
Speaking as herself.
I want to back. You indicated that she shared with you the job House of Blues, correct?
She put up a corporate position and stuff like that, but she didn't tell me exactly how much she was getting paid.
Okay.
Dang it, Court TV. I swear. Good Lord. It's not StreamYard, it's Court TV.
The end of 2002, moving into the Christmas holidays, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And did you and Lana speak and have continuity in your relationship during the holiday season?
Yes, we did.
Okay. Was there something in particular that you brought to my attention when I met you the other day about what occurred between Lana and her family at that time?
She said that she didn't really have a great holiday.
Did she explain why?
Not in great detail, but she did mention a few things about the holiday season.
Okay, and what were those?
Well, and her mom smoked a joint, and that they.
Dad nabbit. What is the deal? I don't understand what is going on with Court TV today. Can you please stop buffering?
Lana and her family at that time.
She said that she didn't really have a great holiday.
And did she explain why?
Not in great detail, but she did mention a few things about the holiday season.
Okay, and what were those?
Well, that she smoked a joint, and that they.
Good Lord. What in the heck?
Yes.
Okay. What did she tell you in that regard?
Well, that she was at times in the family the breadwinner.
Okay. And did she say anything about how she felt being successful or not successful about being the breadwinner?
She wanted to be successful to help her family, just as probably anyone would, you know.
And did she say or share with you anything about whether she felt that she has succeeded in that or if she had left?
Dadgummit. Y'all, I'm so sorry. I don't know why it's doing this. Court TV, why are you buffering so much today? It says that it's like.
Okay. Mr. Barnes, let me turn you back to this for a moment. You indicated a moment ago in your examination that there was a discussion between law and health regarding an age factor. You were approaching the conversation regarding the age in relationship to where her career was going in the future between you and Lana, yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay, could you please explain to the jury what that conversation was?
Well, we talked about making it in Hollywood and what it took and all the younger actresses that were seeming to get all the great roles. And she said, you know, if you don't make it in this business, you might just give up. And I tried to tell her, like, no, you can't really give up. You got to keep.
So she indicated to you in your conversations she thought her chances were closing down because of her age.
Yes, sir.
And your impression was, based on what she told you, that her financial position was not so good, correct?
Yes, sir.
Did you ever see her drink alcohol?
No, sir.
Okay. You did see her take the Vicodin, though?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And at the holiday time, did she ever share with you an expression about her feeling about receiving something instead of gifts?
She was hoping that she would get some money to help pay her rent instead of, in lieu of, you know, sweaters or, you know, dresses or, you know, clothes or something. That she was hoping to get cash to help pay her rent.
Did she say anything to you about being satisfied with where her life was at that time, as opposed to how she had expected it to be?
I don't remember her saying anything about she was particularly satisfied at this point in her life. I mean,
did she share with you she thought it might have turned out different or should have turned out different?
well, she mentioned that she wanted to. She was hoping that at some point early in her career that she would have gotten a series, that she could have been a reoccurring character on a television series, so that her later life would have been more comfortable. If she had lived in like the Big Bad Linda Evans type thing or something, you know, like a reoccurring role as the very good-looking blonde character.
Okay. I just have two other short areas. I want to go back to the point in time when you were at the rehearsal. You're present, the other actors are present, and Miss Clarkson is present. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Did something happen unusual during the course of the rehearsal where the rehearsal was stopped because Lana made an exclamation about something?
Yes, it was at the second rehearsal.
Please share that.
It was again scene one. She was on stage with the pool boy, and she made her entrance and sat on the couch, but in the play it was something else. And all of a sudden, after a few lines, she stopped. And she said, "Do you guys hear that?" And we're like, "Hear what?" And she's like, "Can you hear the voices?" And we were like, well, to see if the other, because there was a lot of rehearsal space and a lot of other rehearsal, groups. So I went into the hallway, and Robert, the pool boy, went to the back window, and we both looked, and there wasn't anyone in the hallway or at the back window. And she said, "Oh, you guys can't hear that?" So we kind of humored her, and we were like, "Well, it's no big deal, probably, we humored her. We just were like, let's just, get back to rehearsal and forget it." But we all kind of like, we made a mental note of it, but.
I have one final area I want to ask you about. In the short course of this 1 month period where you got to know Lana well, was there ever an occasion where she had any discussions with you about suicidal behavior? First, yes or no?
I'm not really.
Let me ask it this way. Did she ever mention anything about a bridge?
Well, it was just kind of a joke that when you turn 40 as an actress, you might as well just in this town, you're not going to make it. You might. Sure, she was kidding.
Okay. But she made that statement, correct?
Yes.
Your Honor, may I have a moment?
You may.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Burns, very much. Your Honor, pass the witness.
Thank you. Cross-examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Mr. Barron.
Good morning, sir.
My name is Dix. I'm one of the DAs. I'm going to ask you some questions. if that's okay. You were interviewed a couple times by defense investigators, isn't that correct?
Yes, sir.
One by Cheryl Yoakum in, I guess, 2004.
Yes, sir.
And then the other time, more recently, by Tawny Tyndall, right?
Yes, sir.
And Cheryl Yoakum asked you basically the same question that Mr. Rosen asked you. Did Lana Clarkson ever say anything suicidal? Do you remember Cheryl Yoakum asking you that?
Yes.
Have you had a chance to look at that report?
Yes, I have.
And you told Cheryl Yoakum, no, she never said anything. Wasn't that your answer?
No, I said to Cheryl that she never displayed any suicidal tendencies, but she did make the comment about if you don't make it in this business by the time you might as well find a bridge.
Right, and you took that as a complete joke.
Yes.
Right, I mean, in that context, Lana Clarkson was talking about her career, not her life. Isn't that?
Yes.
And that's how you took it.
That's how I took it.
And in fact, you, a playwright, I don't think the same, or let me just ask you, I mean, I assume that the same 40-year-old wall that Lana Clarkson might have been talking about with respect to her career doesn't apply to playwright, does it? I mean, playwrights can keep writing forever. Their looks don't really matter, do they?
When I turned 40, I had just been diagnosed with HIV/AIDS full-blown, and I was lucky to be alive.
Right, and you were happy about that, but you're still working, right? You're still trying to write plays.
Now I am.
Right, and you were back when this happened, isn't that right?
2003, yes, sir.
And in fact, I think you told Mr. Rosen that you'd worked as a waiter. That's why you recalled the incident at the restaurant, and as a bartender, right?
Yes, sir.
And you were trying to support yourself in what you really wanted to do, your passion, which was being a writer.
Yes, sir.
And you had to take other jobs to try to allow yourself to make it as a writer, either on the stage or elsewhere, correct?
Yes, sir.
Was that the focus of your writing was for the stage?
No, not the primary focus. It was the focus of this play, but I also have a book that I wrote in 97.
So, with that background, with your own personal experience of waiting on tables and working as a bartender to try to give yourself the time and the financial ability to play a writer, you understand Lana Clarkson's frustration about you about having to take a corporate job instead of doing what you really love. You totally understood that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Because you had lived the same kind of situation, trying to work a job. Play, correct?
Yes, sir.
And she wasn't going to make a whole lot of money in this play, was she?
Not at all.
How many performances did you plan on?
We were planning on a 3-week run in February, all of February.
So, but you're dark 1 or 2 or maybe more nights a week, correct?
We were going to run 4 nights a week, and
so I'm doing the math real fast. So is that
12 performances.
Okay, bucks, right? So she wasn't going to get rich working on your play, but for being an actress. And in fact, you saw that in the rehearsal, didn't you?
Yes, I think that she really saw this as a chance to really act and to, you know, explore her talent.
Well, you knew that she'd had some background as an actress. She'd been in movies.
Yes, she showed me her reel and told me about Barbarian Queen.
Sure. And what was it? That was one about the high school. I guess she had a small part in that.
Fast Times at Ridgemont.
Exactly. Right. Right. So she positions where she actually did get paid. Right. Okay. Now, just to clarify it, so I understand it, equity and equity waiver. Equity waiver is basically you don't get the union wage.
No, you don't. But you do get 1 point. Sure. Equity code.
And there are many small plays around Los Angeles that are at waiver, and there are opportunities for actors who have a passion for that to get on stage and learn.
Yeah.
I should say craft. I'm sorry. Isn't that right?
Showcasing their talent, yes, sir.
And so when Lana Clarkson came to your rehearsal, actually you planned on looking at her for the part of Sharon Tate. Isn't that correct?
She came in, which is interesting. She came in and took both monologues. She took Sharon Tate's and she took Marilyn's, and she was the last one to rehearse. And she said, "Can I read them both?" And I thought, sure.
Taking over the play, or did you think that she just had this passion for being an actor and wanting to be a part of your play?
I was more curious at that point, and I said, sure. And she was the only actress of the 40, I guess, who asked to audition for both 2 parts.
So is it fair to say, though, that you took that as at least a sign of enthusiasm for your play or being a part of your play?
She was, yes, very enthusiastic about being in the play.
And in fact, there was second rehearsal. And for that audition, you'd asked her to come back and audition for the part of Marilyn Monroe.
Yes, I suggested that, I wanted to see her as Rosalind in The Misfits, as Marilyn. I thought that she could capture that kind of late Marilyn Monroe kind of image. And
I'm sorry, you lost me with the Rosalind thing.
Rosalind was the character that Marilyn played in The Misfits with Montgomery Clift and Clark Gable.
Towards the end of her career.
That was her last film.
You know more about that than I do. So, but anyway, that's what you saw at the first rehearsal, the potential that Lana Clarkson had for your play, where Marilyn Monroe was one of the 3 important parts, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and so you asked her to come back as Marilyn Monroe for that second audition, and she did, correct?
Yes, she did.
And she came back.
She came back in full makeup, in period fashion. Her fashions were 50s. And full makeup, full hair, ready to go. I was very impressed with that.
Again, showing a lot of enthusiasm, not only for her craft as an actor, but for your play.
Yes, sir.
I apologize, I'm not familiar with your craft, but I assume before someone came and auditioned twice for a play like the one that you were putting on, they would have read the whole play.
No. What I did was in auditions, I just put their first names. Mm-hmm. It's kind of mysterious about it. Part of that was because I didn't know if there would be any fallout about writing for Nicole Brown.
All right, so you kind of a veil over this a little bit.
A bit of a veil, yes.
So when you asked Lana Clarkson to come in for the second audition, she just knew she was coming in to audition to play the role of Marilyn Monroe in some play.
Yes.
Fair to say?
Yes, sir.
And she came last, ready to go, and impressed you.
Eager, ready to go.
And as a result of that second audition, you were taken with Lana Clarkson for that part in your play. Isn't that correct?
Not exactly.
Well, who's the guy that's going to be the director of this play?
Ron Ozick.
Now, and I've only read.
I don't mean to interrupt you. Could we maybe get that still to the record?
Sure. I'll ask you because I don't know how.
If I remember, it's O-Z-Y-K. I may be wrong. It's in the playbill, though.
Is what's in the report anyway. All right. So he was the director of Brentwood Blondes. You were the playwright, correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, isn't it true that you got into a disagreement with him over the casting of Marilyn Monroe? That Lana Clarkson is Marilyn Monroe. Isn't that right?
Yes, we had a huge fight over it.
You wanted Lana Clarkson.
Yes.
As a result of that second audition, you wanted her so much that in this argument with your director, you had a falling out and he left the play for a time.
That's correct to a point. It wasn't her performance in the second audition. It was the tape Lana Unleashed is the reason why I actually cast her.
Well, for whatever reasons, you decided you wanted Lana Clarkson in your play as Marilyn Monroe. The actor wasn't so smitten with her in that part.
He wanted Amber to play me.
And Marilyn Monroe was going to be played by Lana Clarkson, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. As a result of that decision, were you going to be the director of the play at that point?
As a result of that decision, Ron left the show, and the directing duties fell upon me.
Well, you were the playwright, so I guess you obviously know the play. I don't understand how that happens, but did that put an extra burden on you?
Yes, it did.
You had an additional big job to do.
An additional big job.
And maybe perhaps additional stress about this whole production?
You could say that, yes.
Heighten the burdens that were on you in getting this production going had just been increased because now you were not only the playwright and had an interest in that way, but you also were going to be the director.
Ron said it's either Lana or me.
And you picked Lana. Correct?
Yes, sir.
And that's because you thought she'd do such a great job.
No,
You didn't think she'd do a good job in it?
that's because I thought it was very shallow of me, but I thought she could bring attention to the play.
And in fact, you told that to Cheryl Yoakum, didn't you? You thought you hired Lana as Marilyn Monroe in your play because you thought she'd bring big names and media attention to your play.
Yes, I did.
So this decision to cast Clarkson as Marilyn Monroe, not only, well, let me withdraw and ask it, pick her because you thought that Lana Clarkson would do a terrible job as Marilyn Monroe. You thought she'd do a good job, didn't you?
Yes, I thought she would do a good job because not only could she look the part, she really loved Marilyn. And that, deep down that she would do her best to give Marilyn some kind of life on stage.
So you thought she would do a job with that part. In addition to that, as you just started to indicate, you had another reason. You thought that Lana Clarkson, with her names to your production, to those 12 performances of Brentwood Blondes, and bring media attention to your play. Isn't that correct?
One name in particular, yeah. Yes, sir.
This was a play. Was this the first play of yours that had been produced in Los Angeles?
Yes, it was.
So this was kind of your chance too.
Yes, so to speak.
And with this chance of your play, the play that you put together, and now we're going to direct a media people or a media attention to the first play of yours that had been produced in Los Angeles was important to you. Isn't that right?
Yes, it was.
And you took a lot of pride, obviously, in this play that you'd put together, that you'd written. Isn't that correct?
I thought it was a really pretty decent little piece.
And I'd like to talk about it a little bit more, but let's talk about what happened after you cast Lana Clarkson as Marilyn Monroe. She just jumped into this both hands and feet, right? I mean, she just was excited about this. Isn't that correct?
And initially, yes, she was. Very
I
much
think
so.
someplace I read, or maybe you told Mr. Rosen that she was on the phone to you a number of times a day.
Yes, sir.
By your answer, did it become irritating at some point?
No, but I think that it took away a little bit of attention to the other actors.
And that's because you had a lot of responsibilities now with this play, isn't that
Yes,
correct?
yes, I did.
I mean, you were the director and the playwright and all that, but it also demonstrated to you that Lana Clarkson was really into this play. She really was involved in it. Isn't that correct?
Dang it. I was just thinking how good it was going. I jinxed myself with my thoughts that time. I didn't even have to say it. Dang it.
Correct. Mr. Rosen, that you got to know her because she was at your house and you guys were rewriting parts of the play. I guess scene one is what you told us. Isn't that correct?
We were working on scene one. Yes.
And she was there. You knew she had that House of Blues job too at the time, right?
Yes, sir.
So she was juggling her 8 hours or 10 hours or whatever it was at the House of Blues, and spending her off hours with you trying to rewrite this scene. At some point, you all returned to a rehearsal, and Lana Clarkson, as you told us, announced to everybody that the two of you had rewritten the play, or words to that effect. Is that what you told us?
She came into the rehearsal and said, John and I rewrote the play last night.
And just the way you said that, and you tell me where I'm wrong, but she said that was some degree of pride and maybe pride of authorship. And you're correct.
Correct.
So you were
A little bit.
You were, because this was your play, not Lana Clarkson's play, correct?
Yes, sir.
And all you, at least in your mind, and you're the playwright, in your mind, what you've done working with Lana Clarkson at your home was try to massage, rewrite some part to accommodate her a little better. Isn't that right?
Yes, Marilyn has it's the most demanding role in the play. And I felt that if I had shortened scene one, made it easier for her to get through the 2 monologues, that it would help her, throughout the rest of the play.
So you were trying to help her by these rewriting sessions, correct?
Yes, sir.
And yet she'd come to the rehearsal with all this enthusiasm and now some pride of authorship announcing that the two of you had rewritten the play, correct?
That's what she did.
And you were angry about it. Did you just tell us that?
Yes, I
There's
did.
a question.
He hadn't had a chance to.
I'm sorry.
I'm going to object to the second question. You have a chance to
Go
answer.
ahead and answer the question.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm trying to communicate to you that when you write something, it's basically yours. And when someone is seemingly taking credit for it, it's just natural that you're just going to want to say that it's mine.
I'm not arguing with you. I understand that. I'm just trying to see if that's how you felt. This was your play, and she just, in front of your whole cast, taking
possession of it in some way.
Sir.
Isn't that right? But wouldn't you agree, Mr. Behrens, that Lana Clarkson's enthusiasm over the rewriting of the play with your house, and for the play that she's been demonstrating to you since you had first seen her at the audition? Isn't that right?
That would be true. No, that would be true if she wasn't so demanding at previous rehearsals and previous conversations.
Well, but even at those previous rehearsals, you still kept her in that role of Marilyn, isn't that right?
I still kept her, but my enthusiasm was waning.
And what the straw that broke the camel's back is when she came to that rehearsal and in your mind tried to take credit for your play. That's when you decided that you were going to let her go. Isn't that true?
That is true.
Even though you let her participate in that rehearsal, it's because she stood in front of all those people that were in your play and tried to take, at least in your mind, tried to take credit for your play. You said she's gone. Isn't that right?
In my mind, at that point, I was thinking, can I get a hold of Amber? Can I get a hold of someone who is going to do this part without putting so much pressure on my life?
Well, but that pressure had been increased because you made the decision to hire her. That was your decision to let the director go because you wanted her so much.
The director went of his own volition. I chose Lana, and I stuck with that decision for as long as I could.
Until she tried to take credit for the authorship of your play in some small way. Isn't that right?
Some may say it's small, some may say it's not so small.
It had nothing to do, I think you mentioned Valentino gowns here at some point, that she was demanding Valentino gowns. Isn't that right?
She wanted her fashion, her wardrobe done by who she described as Valentino, located in the Valley.
Valentino was just, it's not the Valentino designer in Europe. We're not talking about that, are we?
No.
No, it's Valentino costumes on Sanacoy Street in Van Nuys.
I told her I did not have the budget for that I already had a costumer of note.
I just wanted to make that clear. I didn't want anybody to think that Miss Clarkson was demanding Valentino gowns imported from the runways of Paris. She just wanted to use the Valentino costume outfitters in Van Nuys, right? And you had a disagreement about that.
Yes, we did. And I told her that I could not afford that.
You decided, because of the comment about the script, that you were going to let her go, and in fact, you did let her go, right? And that was the
conversations.
Well, did you make the call?
No. After Thursday's rehearsal on the 10th of January, I asked Jeff Sharlin, not the pool boy, but the set builder, if he would fire Lana, because I just did not want to do it.
You hired her, but you didn't want to fire her.
That is correct.
And then there was some misdirection, and so you made the call.
She, a 5-6 minute message on my answering machine that made the decision to fire her immediately.
Well, I thought you said you made that decision when she walked into the rehearsal and said that the two of you had rewritten the play.
I made the decision to tell Jeff to fire her, not for me, myself, to fire her.
But the decision to let her go, in your mind, was made when she walked in and said that you guys had rewritten the play, and you were offended at that, right?
That was the final.
Okay. Well, but that message was pretty friendly, wasn't it? I mean, she actually talked to you at the end of the message. She was friendly and showed enthusiasm for the play even in that message, correct?
I didn't take it that way.
well, you were upset with her then, so it's fair to say not she could say to you would make you happy.
Form of the questions are remanded for roll.
So, I had made up my mind that we were going to replace her in the play. I did not exactly know how, whether Jeff was going to do it on a Monday or whether he was going to do it on the weekend, but I had made up my mind that.
Okay. And when you told Lana Clarkson that she was no longer going to be with this play that she showed so much enthusiasm with and spent so much of her free time with you working on the play, she didn't go ballistic, did she?
No.
She took it in light of all the hours that she spent there and the enthusiasm that she'd shown relatively calmly, correct?
Would you like me to tell you how the conversation went?
Well, can you just answer? Was she relatively calm?
She was relatively surprised and then followed by calm and gracious.
So not, as Mr. Rosen tried to suggest at any time, suicidal about this. She wasn't suicidal, was she?
I'm going to object.
Sustained in the form of the question.
She wasn't ready to jump off of some bridge. She was gracious, as you just said, and accepted your decision because you were the guy in charge, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Did you, at some point after this, have an interview with Rolling Stone magazine?
My friend Michael Simmons writes for the LA Weekly. His friend Deanne Stillman writes for Rolling Stone. He introduced me to Deanne, and yes, I did.
When did you do that?
April, May of '03.
So within a month or two of Miss Clarkson's death. Is that
Approximately.
And did you tell him in this article that, at least at the time, you thought was going to show up in Rolling Stone magazine, right?
I thought it would.
And go out to the public, obviously, correct?
Yes, sir.
You told him about your relationship with Lana Clarkson within the parameters of your play.
Yes, sir.
Got a moment for me. Let me ask you just a couple questions, if I could, about the play. Mr. Rosen asked you a couple of questions about it before. It focused on three women, Marilyn Monroe and Nicole Brown. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I think you said in your direct testimony, please correct me if I'm wrong, that these three rather famous women, for various reasons, meet in the afterlife, and they were there because they were killed by famous men.
Yes, and they never got a chance to talk about it.
And so that's kind of the theme of the movie. It's these women who were killed by famous men meet in the afterlife and discuss their situation. And I'm just going to ask you, so in your play, who killed Marilyn Monroe?
Joe Kennedy Sr.
Now, in your conversation with Cheryl Yoakum, the defense investigator, you said at one point you would consider, and I don't know if you've done this, writing a fourth woman into the play.
There already is. Lady Di comes in at the end.
But when you talked to Cheryl Yoakum, just a few days after Lana Clarkson's death, you told her that you were considering writing Lana Clarkson into the play. Isn't that true?
No, it isn't. I talked to Cheryl Yoakum a year after Lana's death.
All right. And at that time, did you tell her that you were considering, did you tell her when everything is all over, you want to add a fourth Brentwood blonde and it should be Lana Clarkson?
I told her that after 1 year of considering what to do after a heart attack, heart surgery, and cardiac rehab, that I, yes, decided to put Lana into the play.
Okay. Did you ever write the play with Lana Clarkson as the fourth woman in Brentwood Blonde?
I've been working on it.
And did she, in that play, Lana Clarkson in that play, have the same thing in common with the other? She was killed by a hitman? Oh, she didn't.
Because I don't know what happened.
Thank you, Nathan.
Thank you. Redirect.
Yes.
Mr. Behrens, Mr. Dixon just asked you about writing Lana Clarkson to the play. And you just answered him a moment ago when he posed that question to you, and your answer was, I don't know what happened. What do you mean by that?
Well, when I put her into the play, I'm going to try and be as compassionate and humorous and as I was with, the other characters, but I don't know what happened, and neither does he.
Hey, Mr. Dixon.
Yes, sir.
I want to go over a few areas that Mr. Dixon touched on with you in cross-examination, okay?
Yes, sir.
First of all, I want to get something straightened out here. Mr. Dixon asked you, isn't it true you spoke with defense investigators, correct?
Yes, sir.
As a matter of fact, Mr. Behrens, isn't it true that long before you met with any investigator from the defense team, you were contacted in 2003, shortly after Miss Clarkson's demise, by Los Angeles County Sheriff's Officer Richard Tomlin? Isn't that true?
Right after Lana's death, I called the police. I called them the next day.
And as a matter of fact, on February 13th, 2003, not more than 10 days later, you had a telephonic interview with Mr. Tomlin, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
And that was the first person from law enforcement, not from the defense side, from law enforcement, that you gave an interview to. Isn't that true?
Yes, sir.
And you've never refused to talk with anybody from law enforcement. Isn't that true?
That's true.
In fact, Mr. Jackson was speaking to you this morning out in the hallway, and he was asking you questions. You didn't shoo him away. You didn't tell him you wouldn't talk to him, did you?
No, sir.
What did you do when Mr. Jackson asked you questions here this morning?
I answered his question.
Mr. Behrens, how long have you been employed in various jobs? Most of your life?
I've been working since I was 10 years old, sir. Raking leaves, mowing lawns.
Waiting
tables when I was able to at 18.
What other jobs have you had?
Oh, goodness. Anywhere from custodian, janitor, to bartender, to I was a waiter at the Rainbow Room for a time. Anything to make, anything within reason to make a living.
Okay. And as I understand your testimony, Ms. Clarkson, when she took the job at the House of Blues, said it was corporate, right?
Corporate, yes.
And she said she hadn't worked like that in years, correct?
20.
So as far as you knew, she didn't have a similar working background to yours, did she?
That's irrelevant.
It's irrelevant. Sustain. Mr. Behrens, Mr. Dixon asked you about how long the play was going to run, and I think you said it was going to be 4 nights a week. There were going to be a total of 12 performances, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I think you indicated the total pay to Miss Clarkson was going to be $60 if she had performed in all 12 of the plays, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. And then he asked you about whether or not she had a passion for acting, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you said she did, right?
I think the passion was more for fame, but she enjoyed acting.
What do you mean the passion was more for fame than she enjoyed acting? What do you mean by that?
Objection, speculation.
No, he can define his terms. Overruled. You may answer.
Well, her main motivation was to be known for, it's not like she wanted to be in Dostoevsky, and if she wanted to do Shakespeare, she wanted to do, or even Tennessee Williams, or, the passion was more to be a famous actress.
You've actually described her talent in the past, haven't you?
In different ways.
Yes. And without being negative in any way, you've described her talent in the past as being not really a great talent. She was not a brilliant actor. Isn't that true?
I have said that. That I have said.
Okay. Now, Mr. Dixon covered another area with you. He asked you, did you hire her? And you said yes. He asked if you thought she was a good actor. You said yes. You indicated that in answer to Mr. Dixon's questions on cross, that you felt she was enthusiastic, that Marilyn Monroe was one of the 3 important parts, and she showed up in full makeup with the hair and the clothes, correct?
Yes, sir.
How many auditions did she perform in?
2, sir.
She didn't perform in the play when it opened, did she?
No, sir.
And she didn't perform in the play when it was put on for the public, correct?
Correct, sir.
You had to let her go, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
She was fired, correct?
Yes, sir.
So she never wound up playing the part of Marilyn in the play, did she?
That's correct, sir.
In spite of the fact that you hired her, right?
Yes, sir.
In spite of the fact that you felt she was a good actor, correct?
Competent, that I was hoping that she could do the role. Yes, sir.
Sure, absolutely. She deserves that credit. Enthusiastic, in spite of that?
Very enthusiastic, sir.
In spite of that, she didn't play the role, correct?
That is correct.
And in spite of everything else, the full makeup, the clothing, the hair, in spite of all of that, the decision was made to fire her, correct?
In spite of all the machinations, yes, sir.
Did you hire her strictly and only because you thought she was the best actor for the role?
Overruled. You may answer. Finish your question, then you may answer.
Did you hire her exclusively and only because you felt that she was the best actor for the role?
No, sir.
Let's talk about that. Mr. Dixon asked you about Ron Ozek, the director, correct?
Yes, sir.
And he said you had a huge fight over firing Lana. Was it a knockdown, drag-out fight with fists and...
Well, yes, and that's the state's evidence. I didn't say it. The witness, I thought, said it.
In any event, why don't you just describe the fight to us?
It was more of a catty, you made the wrong choice kind of thing.
Okay. It was a verbal disagreement, right?
Yes.
An honest difference of opinions.
Yes, but he did leave the show for the time that Lana was with the show.
All right. You mentioned to Mr. Dixon something about a tape called Lana Unleashed, correct?
Yes, sir.
This was a video that she had put together of a suite or a series of vignettes, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And she asked you to look at it, didn't she?
She did, yes, she did.
And she told you she borrowed a lot of money to make that video, correct?
She said it cost her a lot of money, yes.
And she was in debt because of it, correct?
Well, I didn't hear, well, exactly, I'm in debt because of this, but she said I spent a lot of money on this.
You looked at it, didn't you?
Oh, I saw it, yes.
Share with the jury what you saw and what your impression was.
This is just my impression. I was not very impressed with this piece.
No, it was drawn out on cross-examination as to reasons why, after seeing this tape, it had to do with what followed, and therefore what's in the tape is relevant. Objections overruled.
It was a series of short scenes, vignettes, Lana in prosthetic costume, Lana in various scenes. She wrote most of it, and I did not enjoy it. But despite not enjoying it, I cast her because of the last 3 minutes of the tape.
Okay, and that's what I want to get to. Mr. Dixon asked you about that. You mentioned in your answer, there was one man in particular that caused you to cast her in the play, and that appears in the last 3 minutes of Lana Unleashed, correct?
Yes, sir.
Who is that individual? What is that person's name? Tell us.
Roger Corman.
And who is Roger Corman, or who was Roger Corman in the end of the year 2002, the beginning of 2003? Tell us.
He was a cult film director who I had a lot of respect for, and who I saw was very taken with Lana, and I thought that he would come to the show.
And you thought that would help you, correct?
Yes, sir.
You feel a little guilty about that, correct?
I feel a little shallow because of it, yes.
But the bottom line is you thought it might help your show either financially or by way of promotion, correct?
Yes, sir.
And that was at the end of that video, correct?
At the very end, it was probably 3 minutes, maybe more.
But it played a very significant role in your decision-making process to cast Lana. Isn't that true?
Yes, sir. As it turned out, yes.
Okay. Mr. Dixon asked you whether or not Lana really wanted to do this play, and I think you answered by saying she wanted to do this play very much. Is that correct?
Especially in the beginning, yes.
Okay. Now let's talk about another area that Mr. Dixon discussed with you, and that was about the area, and he asked you a number of questions about this, where Lana comes into one of the rehearsals with the play in hand, the script in hand, excuse me, not the play, the script in hand, and she makes an announcement in your presence, which not only caught your attention, it upset you, correct?
About having rewritten the script, yes, sir.
Okay. And you indicated in answer to Mr. Dixon's question, you said, well, you were angry about her saying that and saying that you and she had rewritten the whole play. Is that correct?
Yes, she led everyone to believe that the entire play was rewritten, which caused quite an uproar. Everyone thought that they'd have to relearn their lines.
Well, let me ask you this. Let's talk about the anger. When you were angry and upset about this, did you start screaming at her in front of everybody?
No, sir.
Did you call her out in any way to embarrass her?
No, sir.
Did you throw anything at her?
No, sir.
Did you challenge her?
No, sir.
Did you tell her, get out of here, leave, you're disrupting, you're through?
No, sir. I internalized everything.
Okay. And I want to ask you this. As I understand it, that was not the only and sole and exclusive reason why you let Lana go. Is that true?
That's true.
What were the other reasons? Did any of it have to do with any of the things that you had witnessed and how she was treating the other actors in the play?
There was some intimidation between her and at least 2 of the other actors.
How about you? Were you intimidated by her?
Yes, I was.
So it really wasn't one particular reason. It was the totality of circumstances, correct?
Yes, sir, and that included Randall.
You made the statement in answer to Mr. Dixon's question that you chose Lana and you stuck with the decision as long as you could.
Yes, sir.
What did you mean by that answer on cross-examination?
I loved her. I want her to play Marilyn. I knew that Marilyn meant so much to her. I thought that somehow, deep, deep down, the performance could be manifest.
Mr. Dixon went into this voicemail message that was left on your phone, correct?
Yes, sir.
And I think you started to answer something and you didn't finish, which was, he asked you, did you make the decision immediately to fire her at that point?
That decision was made Thursday's rehearsal. The decision that I would do it was made Friday morning.
That's what I wanted you to explain. Okay, so can we just take a moment and sort of go through that so it's clear for the record?
Yes, sir.
All right, so please explain when the decision was made, how the decision was to be implemented, and when it was implemented. The sequence.
Yes, sir. There was some shifting, but here goes. After Thursday's rehearsal, during the rest, I considered the rest of the rehearsal perfunctory. Just, let's get through it. Let's read it. It was just in the back of my mind, what's Amber's phone number, And I had said, to myself, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to get Jeff to do it. I went home that night, woke up in the morning, Lana, and I went out for breakfast. And when I came home, Lana had left a very long message on my machine. In the message, it was probably 400 or 500 words, 6 or 7 minutes. She had left a bag with her expensive black loafers at the rehearsal space. She said that she said so many things, but she didn't have time to pick it up. She needed me to bring it to a certain place. She needed me to do this. She needed me to do that. And I just didn't want to do it. But right now, to myself, I'm with you. And I said that to myself. I called her after that and said, Lana, we have to talk. She said, I'm at my mom's, I think. I'll be in the car. I'll call you from the car. She called me back from the car after I paced around the apartment, not wanting to actually do it. Jeff, Ron wasn't home. Tina wasn't home. Nobody was home. When she called me back from her car, I said, Lana, we've got to talk. Okay, John, what about it? Things aren't going so well. I financially can't afford things that you need in this play.
We'll do that.
Yes, I do.
Then
she said, well, John, do you want to replace me? I'm not sure what it was. But when she said that, I said, Lana, I have no choice. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I said that about 7 times. I felt really, really bad about having to do that. I mean, really bad. I mean, I wonder what would have happened if she had stayed with the play. None of us might be here.
All right, the latter portion is stricken. The chair is admonished to disregard it.
okay, so at that point, you let her know.
Yes.
All right. I want to shift to another area brought up by Mr. Dixon. Mr. Dixon questioned you about, I believe, an interview that you had with, I think you said it was a friend of yours, I may have misheard you, sometime in either April or May of the year 2003, correct?
Yes, sir.
And as I understand, that was after you had been telephonically interviewed by the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department through the good aegis of Detective Richard Thompson, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How much money did you get paid by anyone? Let me finish the question, sir. How much money did you get paid by anyone from either Rolling Stone magazine or anybody on behalf of Rolling Stone magazine for this interview?
Not a penny.
As a result of this interview, have you benefited financially in any way?
No, not at all.
All right. Now let's talk about the last subject. And that Mr. Dixon had concluded his cross-examination talking about the next play, Lady Di, and casting Lana. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. When did you start writing this particular?
The original incarnation
Yes, sir.
in
First generation.
June of 2000.
This was before Lana passed away, correct?
Yes, sir.
Is it complete?
As it stands right now, it stands on its own right now.
So it's ready to go?
It really is.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Have you run this play? You haven't, have you?
No,
Have you made any money off this play?
no, sir.
Have you taken this play, and I don't mean in any way to be pejorative when I say this, but have you taken this play and tried to sell it or peddle it to anybody in Hollywood?
No, sir.
And I want you to tell the jury why you haven't.
Well, after that year of considering what to do, I took a long time to consider what to do. I didn't know what to do. It was all so confusing. Writing this play about blondes and what happened to Lana, who knows? I just didn't know what to do. And by November, I suffered a heart attack. I had heart surgery the same month. I was in cardiac rehab, and all I could do was just think of what to do. And I came up with no other choice but to add Lana out of respect for Lana. I know that she told me more than once that I would write a play for her. And I didn't know her from a child. All I knew her was with Brentwood Blondes. So I thought the most
Endearing?
but the most reasonable or rational thing was to add her to the play because that's how I knew her.
And you did it out of respect to her.
Yes.
But you've not played it out of respect to her also, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gross.
Thank
Nothing
you,
further.
Ross.
Just a couple of questions. So when you, sounds like this decision to make the call to let her replace Lana Clarkson
Was difficult, sir.
you thought about who else could I hand this job off to, in a sense, because it was a difficult thing for you to do, right?
When you hand the job,
Well, I mean, you thought about some other people that you were going to ask to make the call. Isn't that correct?
yes.
And eventually, you did it.
Actually, Ron found the new actress.
But you called Lana Clarkson to tell her she'd been replaced.
Oh, yes.
And this was, sounded like when you were just telling Mr. Rosen that this was a pretty emotional, difficult thing for you to do.
Very much so.
But she took it graciously and calmly. Isn't that right?
Yes, as she sent me the tape back of the Misfits with a very nice note.
There was no drama, so to speak, on her side of it, right? She was calm and gracious.
I wouldn't say that you can be calm, but be a little bit dramatic.
All right.
So, but
You thought you were the objections of the director at that time, correct?
yes, sir.
And you must have thought she'd do a pretty good job in this, correct?
I was hoping she would.
But the real reason, I guess, it turns out, is that you were hoping Roger Corman, this Hollywood person that was connected somehow to Lana Clarkson, would show up and discover you.
Not so much discover me, just enjoy the play and maybe bring attention to it.
Right, but help your career.
It's Hollywood.
Right, and that's part of the reason that you cast Lana Clarkson in this play, is to use her connection, her Hollywood connection, right?
And I have explained that it perhaps is a bit shallow of me. Yes, sir.
Okay. And then when the stress that you've explained to Mr. Rosen's got just too much, then you replaced her.
Yes, with Ron's help.
All right. And let me ask you one, in this play, you're sure that Joe Kennedy killed Marilyn Monroe?
I'm not sure of that at all.
Thank you. Anything further?
I don't think I can follow that line.
Subject to recall your excuse. Thank you for being here. You may step down.
Thank you.
And that would certainly be taken into account.
I just got 1 second.
Yes. Well, we're going to go ahead and take a recess. Ladies and gentlemen, keep in mind the admonition. We'll be in recess. It may be lengthy. We have some things we have to take up outside your presence, so I can't tell you how long it's going to be. We'll stand in recess. Thank you. I believe this is the back on the record. All parties except the jurors and alternates are present. This is the time to deal with the issue of the witness.
Yes, sir.
Well, now's the time to deal with the
information on Thursday, last Thursday. We simply haven't had time to prepare for cross-examination. We would ask, and we told the defense when we got it, don't put them up front because we're not going to be prepared. We've got a lot of things going on. If you could put them toward the back end of your case. He wasn't being nasty about it, but he said, I want to put them where I want to put them, and you can make your objection. So there it is.
Okay.
Can I address the discovery issue?
Yes.
We just learned about him on like the 27th. We got a report done. I sent the report PDF to the DA's office to Mr. Jackson, Mr. Dix, Mr. Ocampo. Mr. Ocampo is my contact. The PDF that I put it in the mail on Friday, the 29th. I was back in San Diego. I emailed it to him on the 29th, and we amended the witness list the same day. And right when we got the report, we turned it over immediately.
Nobody's saying that you delayed your discovery. The question is whether the prosecution, having been given this discovery, has had adequate time to explore it before they make certain motions, which I think, based upon my reading, you were kind enough to supply me with the testifying.
Until last Thursday, we gave him a little over a week.
Be that as it may.
Whatever it is. The other thing is that one of the reasons we really have to put it this week is that based upon the court's prior rulings as a result of the district attorney's request as to Dr. Pena and Dr. DeMaio, we can't ask them questions based upon witnesses that or reports. We can only ask them questions based upon defense witnesses that have testified. So we've got them set for next week, and we were doing all these other non-scientific witnesses this week so that we can then ask them questions about what these, based upon what the court ruling was, in other words. And so we really have to get this done this week. There's no other way we could do it. Can't just keep calling back all our forensic experts. So we really have to move forward. That's our decision as far as calling this and all these other witnesses this week.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, I'm done.
No, I was just going to add something else, Your Honor. As I understand it, not Mr. Jackson and Mr. Dixon, but they have had a cadre of law enforcement running around to all different kinds of places, doing all kinds of things, including, and I'm using the most operative word here, is purported intimidation of a lot of people regarding Mr. Levy, okay? And it's been reported to me. And that's a separate issue, which I want to go to when we get back to the mistrial motion that's still pending. But
What's pending?
I believe there's a mistrial motion that Mr. Plord made, and it's been held in advance for a while.
I don't withhold. What would you speak?
It hasn't been argued or anything.
So I'm not holding it in advance. If you're talking about the governmental, that's for you to make when you choose to make it, but there's nothing that's being held in advance.
Right, okay, very well.
Okay.
But at any rate, that's a whole history, but I know that they have had their minions, and I say they, I don't mean Mr. Dixon and Mr. Jackson. I don't cast any towards them, but there's been a statement sent out, and we've been looking into this from the very beginning that the discovery was turned over. And secondly, in this case, we've been presented with some of the same and similar situations, and the court, as a fallback position, has at times allowed us to cross.
I've always said CIA. I've always said CIA killed her and JFK, but what do I know? I wasn't even alive back
A little
then.
bit later, which is what you did with me yesterday with Mr. Tanasso. You didn't force me to cross right away. You gave me an opportunity to look at the transcript, which had not been provided previously, and that's not a criticism. So what Mr. Plord said, I think, is really the crux of it, which is we have him slotted, we're ready to go, he's in the hallway, and if for some reason the prosecution feels he needs a little more time, it may be that we could bring him back tomorrow or the next day for the cross, give him an extra day or two. It's just a fallback position.
No, I think the question is, and I'm not indicating that I've decided it, certainly inflammatory. The bottom
StreamYard, get your act together.
Inflammatory. I mean,
how else would you describe the tenor of what's in there? When I say it's inflammatory, I didn't say it makes it inadmissible. Please say that you're surprised by that comment. You cannot be, Mr. Rosen. You cannot be.
I'm going to keep it out.
That's not what I said.
Okay, very fine.
That is clearly what I did not say. Don't put words in my mouth.
I'm not trying to.
Okay.
Your Honor, one of the
Yes.
things, along with this, so they can last Tuesday, right before the 4th of July, and so forth. So whatever it is, it is. But rap sheets, we got this, we got all this discovery, but we're not going to give it to you because we want to delay it. I don't see any reason why they should delay giving us any discovery regarding this witness. And it works both ways. We gave it to them as quickly as we
All I wanted to do was turn my camera off. That's all I wanted to do. I just wanted to turn the camera off so StreamYard would run better, and it just decided it wanted to crash. crying out loud, StreamYard.
Now, I have no problem letting the court know in good faith, as an officer of the court, what we're doing. I simply don't want to do it in open court. I should be able to do it ex parte. When we have a complete package of information that we believe is relevant for impeachment, we'll turn the entire package over to Mr. Plourde. And that's what Mr. Ocampo told him. I was standing there when Mr. Ocampo told him that. So we're not trying to comment that this has happened to a document indicating that Brad Brunon was in receipt of the tape of Vince Tenazzo since January 4th or something, 2007. That they didn't have it transcribed is no fault of ours. It's not upon us to transcribe their tapes for them. We happen to have done it, but they've had that information. It's not fair. It's apples and oranges to compare the two. We're simply asking for about another, 5 days, maybe a week, to complete what we think is a very, very necessary system of vetting the information that the courts referred to in the report.
Why should it be ex parte?
I'm sorry?
Why should it be ex parte?
Now, that is cool. That is so cool. The moon landing was the year I was born. I was 6 months old when we landed on the moon. So I was old enough for that, but I don't remember it. Now, I do remember when the Challenger exploded because I had a teacher that wanted to be the teacher. And so he brought the TV into the classroom. So we all got to watch it explode. Yeah, it is cool. I'm not as old as you, but I've seen a lot too. So it is super, super cool. Yeah, like we're in the generation where we've watched so many things that seemed impossible come to pass, So I think it's cool because, like, we're the only well, I guess I can't say we're the only generation because the generations ahead of us are probably going to see stuff that we've never dreamed of ever happening come to pass, But, like, as it stands now, we think we've seen things that nobody would ever see. And I guess maybe future generations are going to maybe feel the same thing about stuff. But you were 2 weeks old. I was in high school. Yeah, and I was 6 months old for the moon landing. So there you go. Yep, that was that. We've got like 10 minutes left, but this is like spicy outside of the presence of the jury, and I want to watch it. And because of the tech issues, since we don't have Karen Reed today, I'm not going to push it anymore after this, but I want to finish this. Just want to finish this. StreamYard and Court TV are in collusion just to ruin my day. They're in collusion. More collusion. Everywhere. Everywhere in my life, there's collusion. Now, y'all behave and play nice.
document indicating that Brad Brunon was in receipt of the tape of Vince Tenazzo since January 4th or something, 2007. That they didn't have it transcribed is no fault of ours. It's not upon us to transcribe their tapes for them. We happen to have done it. But they've had that fair task notice to compare the two. They're asking for about another, 5 days, maybe a week, to complete what we think is a very, very necessary system of vetting the information that the courts referred to in the report.
Why should it be ex parte?
I'm sorry?
Why should it be ex parte? You're asking to make a showing.
I didn't hear the court.
Why should it be ex parte, which you just indicated you wanted to make an ex parte showing to me?
Because it's not complete. I mean, I would ask the court to allow us, based on what we have gotten so far, to make an ex parte. Shouldn't be ex parte, then that's the court's decision. We can put it on the record or whatever. If the court needs an affirmative determination from us, or
I need some information for you as to why I should delay turning over discovery you may or may not have. Well, if you don't have it, that's an easy decision.
Because some of it is stuff that we simply don't have. Some of it is information that we think may be coming from a witness whom we have not been able to contact.
That you don't have to turn over things, but you're going to have to make a showing to me. What they're saying is the defense says we have a witness we want to present now.
Correct.
Based upon information that they filed, I can see why you might have some concerns about this particular witness. That's what I was talking about. If you are on the process issues, but the bottom line is that further investigation needs to be done as to whether I should prevent it from, as Mr. Rosen has suggested, which is not based upon the showing they've made. Some information. You're asking me to rule in the dark.
Absolutely.
Court doesn't have to do that. Court won't do that.
Your Honor, the only thing I would ask, give me 5 minutes ex parte. I'll explain what the investigation has revealed thus far. If you decide that it's the information that we've gleaned so far should be turned over immediately, as opposed to having an entire packet to turn over to the defense, I'll do it. But I would ask for the court situation, and I think the court will understand it when I explain it ex parte.
It's kind of like an ongoing investigation.
Well, that may be what I will allow you to do. I will go into chambers with you and the reporter. I will allow you to make a presentation to me if I deem that it's matters the defense should know what the premise to get it. So
Sure.
you're taking chances when you go with the understanding that obviously they're going to get it eventually.
We're totally comfortable with that.
Yeah.
You're on. The sticking point is really I'm asking.
I understand you have problems with witnesses, but that doesn't mean.
No, I'm just asking for the rap sheet that they have.
That's what I want to find out. I want to go in and find out what the situation is, determine whether there's anything that could be turned over now or whether everything should be turned over now or partially. I can't do that till I hear from them. So I'm going to go into chambers. Yes. Yes.
They rarely, I've never seen so many ex parte applications court in case.
Well, that was an ongoing investigation that had to do with privileged material where they couldn't have handled it any other way.
There was an ex parte for a subpoena for Dr. Lee.
Those are all handled ex parte, as well as the defense that does exactly the same thing when they ask for an out-of-state witness subpoena. That is not done in open court. That is an ex parte proceeding. It is a one-party proceeding.
With great respect, Your Honor.
Sir, I was the supervising judge of this court for 2 years. Sitting in one. No. You raise certain things. Now you have to sit there while I respond to them. As a supervising judge of this court for 2 years, which is the largest criminal justice system in the world, it is very common for both defense lawyers, the public defender's office, private defense lawyers, and the district attorney's office when they seek an out-of-court subpoena. Subpoenas are not done in open court, period. When you want a subpoena for something, you don't do it in open court. All you need is you don't even come to the court for the normal subpoena. The out-of-state subpoena process requires that the court sign certain documents. It is not an in-court proceeding. It does not require the other side to be present. And you are whether you mean to or not, You understand they should know. Mr. Rosen, that's the way it is viewed.
You're not hearing, that's not the way it's viewed, and that's not what I meant to send.
Okay, well, that is the way I am taking it.
Well, I'm not sending that message to this court at all.
Well, I believe
I'm
you
not
are.
saying that the court is in complicity with them in any way in doing anything wrong. And I'll tell you, I take umbrage at it, Your Honor.
Take all the
That's not what I meant.
Take all the
I've known
umbrage you
this
want.
court for years, and you know I don't think that way of this court.
Well, that is the way I read it, and that's the way I heard it. Okay?
With great respect, if that's the way you took it, it was an error. It wasn't meant that way.
And if I'm in error, I apologize. Let's go on.
So do I.
Let's stop this. Let's get on with the trial. Let's go in chambers.
Trouble.
Back on the record, the parties without the jurors and alternates are present. Having allowed the district attorney to make their ex parte presentation to me as to why they should not turn over partial discovery at this point while they continue into this witness that the defense wishes their expert witnesses and wishing to get this witness on the stand. I am quite satisfied from the presentation that not only is it mandatory that the prosecution not turn over that partial discovery at this point because it could be completely misleading, that whatever time is necessary, and I'm going to set a time limit for the prosecution to continue their investigation before turning over this information to the defense. If the presentation that the prosecution made to me without saying any more pans out, I think the defense will end up thanking me for having taken this time to do it. I'll put it that simply. I think in the long run, and you'll understand when you get the materials and depending where it goes and if necessary, I will either make an in-court or a in-camera presentation to you as to why I'm going to delay at an appropriate time, not at the present time. You'll understand it. I realize it's very amorphous to say the least, but I think you will understand in the long run what happens with this information, that the delay will be beneficial to both sides, even though it will cause you problems immediately. So therefore, I will grant the prosecution's request to temporarily delay any materials they have on this witness. Further, based upon the ex parte presentation, Mr. Plord filed, or the defense filed this morning, an offer for proofread this witness. I'm ordered that that be sealed. And the court is near the presentation of this case, the trial as a whole, until an investigation on this witness is fully finished. And therefore, temporarily, the offer of proof will be sealed. I find that it contains information that if never presented to this jury, and that possibility exists, and I will say no more about it at this time, that information out in the public raises too great a risk to the jury being infected with this if indeed they're never going to hear this testimony. I'm just going to leave it at that. They may indeed hear it, they may not, but the presentation was sufficient. There is no other way to protect the record. It's only temporary, but for the time being, this declaration or offer of proof will be sealed. How much time does the prosecution believe it needs to finish its investigation? And they've made a showing to me as to why, the complexity of that investigation and why it's absolutely necessary.
Based on the defense and taking into consideration and deferring to the defense's request about their timing, I would ask for 1 week.
Okay.
I could use a lot more, but I think because
we are not going to be in session next Thursday because Mr. Rosen is going to be out of town. I've already given him permission to attend a wedding. There's good cause for it. I will give you until the close of business. Actually, since Mr. Rosen doesn't have to take possession of the documents, I will give you till next Thursday.
the 19th.
The 19th.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And then we will see where we go from there, and we'll have whatever hearings are necessary. I think a lot depends on what this investigation develops. It may turn out to be nothing, in which case we'll worry about just the specifics of the testimony. There are things in there that I see that I believe are not admissible. There are other things that would clearly be admissible. And we'll worry about that if and when we get to this witness. That's the best way to state it.
Okay.
Okay, now, so how does that?
We got other witnesses this afternoon.
Before I do that, man, footnote what the court just said.
Sure.
Since I'm not going to be here on the 19th, can we have an agreement that Mr. Plord will be the point man for the defense team and that all things will go through Mr. Plord and only through Mr. Plord so that
because I guess there's a sensitive nature to this based on what the court is saying. Not I guess, I'm assuming there's a sensitive nature.
There is.
I want to make sure that the line of communication is tightly drawn here.
I agree. And of course, is requested the way I view it in the presentation, primarily this benefits the defense. That's the primary benefit. Depending upon what shows up, I think the defense could end up doing something that would irrevocably harm their presentation of their case. I'll leave it at that. So that's why we're taking the time.
You're in the line.
And I think you're unaware of it. That's the bottom line. I think you're in a position, and it all depends. This may be, as things often are, they appear to be one thing and they turn out to be something different. But if this follows the path that the prosecution believes in, I think the defense, by calling this witness, would irrevocably harm itself. Okay.
Simply put, you're in the light, we're in the dark, and it's not unusual that occurrences like that happen in trials.
That's correct. All right. We will be in recess until 1:30 this afternoon. Thank you.
Your Honor, I wonder if we get back just one day from the 9th to the 18th for a reason. We have an expert witness who was supposed to be flying in the first of the next week. And it would really be an incredible expense and an incredible difficulty to change those plans if something goes different. So all we'd ask is if we could know by the 18th instead of the 19th, which is only one day earlier, then we could change our arrangements.
I will make the order with the understanding it could be a developing matter that may require further investigation. So I'm going to set that date with the understanding I may have to delay it. I don't know. I wish I could tell you more. I can't.
We'll do everything in our power to accommodate that date.
I understand. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, guys, let's stop because it's lunchtime and I have a doctor's appointment this afternoon. So I'm kind of worried about Karen now because, of course, not confirmed, but I guess some people are saying that she had a medical issue, and she does have two very serious chronic medical conditions. I can't think of anything else that would have, well, that's not really true. There could have been a lot of different reasons why they didn't have court today, but I'm glad I watched that, though. I almost was like, it's just outside the presence of the jury, no big deal. Because a lot of them are that we've watched. It's been like, oh, it's so boring, let's get on to another witness. But that one was good because there was like a little bit of fireworks there, That was good. Don't piss off Fiddler. You will not like his reaction. So I'm going to go, and I will see you guys again in the morning for more Phil Spector. The next witness, I forgot his name. He's a friend of Lana Clarkson, another defense witness. So we will do that in the morning. It's about an hour and 11 minutes long, so we'll start Karen Reed about 9:15. Thankfully, we won't have to play catch up tomorrow like we were going to do. So it's all good. And thank you guys for coming out. Got a pretty good number of people here for not doing Karen Reed. So I really appreciate you guys being here. This has been fun as always, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Remember, be kind to people, love your family, and Jesus loves you, and so do I. Bye. Have a good day. See you in the morning.